Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Hallelujah. Be Yahweh, we stand before you this day to welcome you, your Ruach, into our vessels. Be Yahweh, send your Ruach here all across the world to all of your chosen, all of your temples that the people are under your name. Let it dwell in all of those temples. Let your shalom dwell throughout. Don't let any manner of wickedness or evil to dwell in those temples, but just allow your truth, your wonderful ways to go out in front of all, and all be delighted in your great and wonderful ways that you have done throughout this lifetime. And Yahweh, even help us to be joyful of those things that are to come. Set our minds towards those things that you have promised us. Help those things that you have promised us get us by each and every day. Help us to have a prayerful state of mind, even in this very hour, even when disaster might strike, even when there may be inclement weathers. Yahweh, help us to stay focused on you and cry out to you whenever we are in distress. And Yahweh, please protect us of all the hurt, harm, and danger that may go on throughout this world. And Yahweh, continue to walk with your people, walk with us in that straight and narrow path to salvation. Help us to not to stray to the right or to the left, but to be focused on that way that you have put out for your people. And Yahweh, continue to show the world, those that want to know you, those that are seeking your face, continue to open their eyes to this way of life. Show them this way and show them that this is the only way to salvation. And Yahweh, open the people's eyes to what your son has done for us. Show them, I'll be Yahweh, that those things that he has done, Yahshua HaMashiach, sacrificing himself for the sins of the world, show the people that we need to focus on him. We need to follow in his footsteps, and we need to honor your son, Yahshua HaMashiach. Yahweh, help us to be able to live our lives in such a way that at the end of our days, we may be able to see your face in peace in your kingdom, Abba Yahweh. And Abba Yahweh, we told you for just being there for us each and every day. Told you for your Ruach, and Abba Yahweh, we told you for protecting us from all the things that Shaitan may throw our way. And Yahweh, continue to just fight off all those wicked and evil things that may come our way. Continue to fight off Shaitan and his children. Help us not to be distracted, and help us not to give up as we walk in this way of life. In Yahshua HaMashiach's name we pray. Hallelujah. House of Israel, you may be seated. Welcome all in the house of Israel today. Welcome all that are tuning in on the very live stream. Today I would like to read from the book of Psalms. This is Psalms 145. And it says, I will exalt you, my Abba, the King. I will praise your name forever and ever. Every day I will praise you and extol your name forever and ever. Great is Yahweh and most worthy of praise. His greatness no one can fathom. One generation will commend your works to another. They will tell of your mighty acts. They will speak of your honorable splendor, of your majesty, and I will meditate on your wonderful works. They will tell of the power of your awesome works, and I will proclaim your great deeds. They will celebrate your abundant goodness and joyfully sing of your righteousness. Yahweh is merciful and compassionate, slow to anger, and rich in ahava. Yahweh is tough to all. He has compassion on all he has made. All you have made will praise you, O Yahweh. Your saints will extol you. They will tell of your honor, of your kingdom, and speak of your might, so that all men may know your mighty acts and the honorable splendor of your kingdom. Your kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and your dominion endures throughout all generations. Yahweh is faithful to all his promises and loving towards all he has made. Yahweh opposes all those who fall and lifts up all who are bowed down. The eyes of all look to you, and you give them their food at the proper time. You open your hand and satisfy the desires of every living thing. Yahweh is righteous in all his ways and loving towards all he has made. Yahweh is near to all who call on him, to all who call on him in truth. He fulfills the desires of those who fear him. He hears their cry and saves them. Yahweh watches over all who harvest him, but all the wicked he will destroy. My mouth will speak in the praise of Yahweh. Let every creature praise his Kodesh name forever and ever. Hallelujah. Yahweh. And Israel, like it says, we have to just continue each and every day of our lives to give him the praise that he well deserves. No matter how many trials we may go through, no matter what we may go through throughout this lifetime, he's going to see you through all those trials. He's going to make you come out all those trials. So we have to praise him each and every day of our lives. Hallelujah. And at this time, I'd like to turn the service over to Zarkane Dawid Yakinhan Senior. We want to receive him by saying the highest form of praise, by saying hallelujah.
Shabbat Shalom Yisrael. Truly we do total Almighty Yahweh, as well as his son Yahshua HaMashiach, our Savior and our Redeemer, for the greatness of the gift of life, for our health and strength, for the activity of our limbs, even in the midst of all of our trials and tribulations. We give Almighty Yahweh all the honor and all the praise that is due unto his Kodesh name. Realizing, having understood the history of the world as best we can, with the minds and the intelligence that Almighty Yah has granted unto those of us that are his people. We live in what can be described as the latter days, total Yah, my dear friend, for what has been perceived as the latter days. We give thanks unto Almighty Yahweh for the simplicity. You all don't mind if I sit down today? I'm going to sit down, talk with you Israel a little bit. So for the simplicity of being able to understand the beauty of Yahweh's word, unlike a lot of what takes place in the world, we have no hiding place except safely in the arms of Almighty Yahweh and his son Yahshua HaMashiach. We believe that, and we know that to be the truth, based upon a careful review of all that the world has to offer. We look around and we realize that whatever it is that the world says that it has to offer, it seems to fail the people of Yahweh in the most grotesque manner. And it is for that cause that when we read verses in Torah that teach us, Baruch are all they that put their trust in him, we come to understand that we have no other alternative. And I always told Yah for the simplicity of the fact that there is no other alternative to Yahweh Yahshua. Hallelujah. I rest safely in that. And I rest safely in that because I look at the nations of the world. I'm going to show you some things that the nations of the world have done. And they have not just started doing these things. These are things that the nations of the world have been doing for the longest of time, so that Yah's people need not be afraid nor troubled by it. But that Yah's people also need to learn to look to Yahweh for the complete safety of themselves as the people of Almighty Yahweh. The book of Ephesians, I believe, teaches concerning us having been predestined for the will of Almighty Yahweh. And when one is predestined, then the outcome has already been determined from the very beginning. Hallelujah. You just have to go through it. I want you to understand that. It's almost like, let's use this example. This is a poor example, but let's use it. It's almost like the opening stages of a chess cold. Several days before, you begin to feel that scratchy feeling in your throat. You begin to understand, if you've been on the earth any length of time and you know the symptoms, you recognize it. And you can do specific things to sort of stave it off or to minimize it or to lessen it, but you still must go through it in order to overcome it. Am I making sense? So then, all the tribulations of the Torah of Yahweh, as outlined because of Yisrael's transgression, or because of the transgression of Adam, on down to the last man standing at the return of Yahshua, we're all destined to go through whatever it is that Yah has allotted for us to go through in order to make it in. Make sense? I always say to the children of Israel, no knowledge of my own, just based on, if Yah doesn't reveal a thing, truth is we don't know anything. We need to understand that. Sometimes Yah can reveal to us the simplest of things, and we were not thinking of it in that manner or in that capacity, so that if it comes to us by way of the revelation of the Ruach of Almighty Yah, then it is just that. It is a revelation. So I always say to the people of Yah, again, with no knowledge and grand foresight of my own, because we can do nothing of our own accord. But Yah taught that knowledge of a thing lessens the tension thereof. That's why the scripture teaches the children of Israel to, in your patience, possess ye your souls. In other words, calm down. Why are we up in arms over that which Almighty Yah has predetermined and has said that I will never leave you nor forsake you? You hear what I say? We have to know that. We can't stand it. See, a lot of times, I know I'm going to use a few words that we might not want to hear, but we're going to have to face this. See, a lot of times, as a people, we're nosy. I want you to hear me now. We're all up in Yahweh's business. We're nosy. We want to know how he going to do a thing so that I can be reassured. No, 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 no. If you know that he has already said that he is going to do it, then how he is going to do it is none of your business. What is your business is to remain trusting in him, that he will do what he said that he will do. Does that make sense, Yisrael? So you don't know the ins and outs of everything. Think about this. You go buy a car, you sign the paperwork for the loan and everything you go through with the bank, but you never once asked that automobile salesman, did you put the catalytic converter on tightly? Did you make sure all the lug nuts are included? Did you put a spare in the trunk? Did you put every drop of gas in it that the tank could possibly hold? See, you don't ask questions like that because you trust that it has been done. Am I correct? And because you don't think on that scale, you tend to put your trust in that automobile salesman. Now tell me you don't. Come on. You drive off that lot, your ears are touched by the lips of your face because you're happy now that you're in something. You know how those parking lots are made. I'm gonna tell you a little trick. To get out, they dip down because the value of your car went down as soon as you come off the lot. So, let you know right there, you're in for a big letdown. Pay attention. Now they let you down, but you don't think about that. You hit that first letdown and you never give it a second thought because you step on the gas and you proceed to wherever it is that you're going. We want to take the power of life that Yah has granted unto us and be able to maneuver in the same exact manner. Now, whether life gives us the ups and the downs, the bumps, the hills, the turns, the curves, whatever, the value of life that Yah has granted unto us all does not depreciate unless we openly, flagrantly transgress against the Torah of Yahweh continuously. Then we depreciate to a point and a degree by which there is no redemption if we don't turn to Almighty Yahweh. Does that make sense? We're going to talk a little bit today about the great tribulations and asking ourselves, are we being prepared? Are we truly prepared? You hear what I'm saying? There is a lot to this. I remember in the early 90s, I used to have discussions with this group. I was a member of a particular study group here in the Baltimore region, and we used to talk about weather modifications and things. This was back 92, 93. We were talking about all this stuff before people heard and understood about HARP and all of the different things that we now so openly hear about. We were the nutcases on the fringes then talking about that. And because people had never heard of it, you bring up something ahead of your time, you're always the nutcase. You're the fringe. You're the one that the weird music to the X-Files plays when you walk in the room. Because you're the person that they're not expecting to show up, and your chances are you're going to be saying the things that they do not wish to hear. But the Torah of Yah has always done that. He has said to the children of Israel that I declare the ending from the beginning. So Yahweh's people can choose to safely put all their trust in him, or we can continue to just blindly follow the world. I'm going to tell you right now that there are some trends and things that emerge in life and in the world that a lot of days I don't even pay it any attention. I don't even give it a second thought because we know that the word of Yah puts us in a position where we're able to safely say, been there, done that. We're moving on to higher heights in Almighty Yah. We remember reading in the book of Revelation how he spoke to the prophet Yohanan. Sis, could you do me a favor? Turn that unit on. You're all right if I turn that air on for a few? I just want, I feel the heat from whatever it is they're preparing. I even smell the aroma. So I know they're going to do you well today. Total Yah for that. Now, when it gets a little too cold, you all signal, you let me know. I have them turn it right back off, okay? I'm up here, I'm up under these lights, and these lights don't play, man. They really don't play. Listen, Yisrael, let's do this. Let's turn to the book of Daniel, chapter 12. I'm gonna remind myself to stop looking up. I keep looking up, then I'm blinded for a couple of, there we go. Blinded for a few seconds. I want to look at some of the beauty of the word of Almighty Yahweh. I'm going to show us some things today, and we're going to play last minute catch up at noon, Yah willing. Signal me right around noon. I want to stop in the midst of whatever it is that I'm doing. We're going to do a noonday, a special noonday prayer for the people of Yahweh that are in the midst of the path of hurricane. They named these things Irma. They named them. They're all permitted, whether man-made or by the will of Yahweh. They're all according to the will of Yahweh. Man has no business naming them. They name them to keep track of the severity, whatsoever the case may be. But if you notice, they don't put the pressure of their acknowledging it is Yah's will when these things come about. Another more interesting note, we can say what we want about the hurricanes. It's mighty interesting that they come off of the west coast of Africa, if you will, and they tend to follow the path that the slave ships took as they brought us here. I want you to understand that as we look at the Isles of the breaking in ground, all the places they called them the Virgin Isles. I want you to understand what they meant by that. So those regions there, they tend to get hit hard. They tend to get battered because of the spiritual conditions and the retribution that Almighty Yah says in his word that a day with Yahweh is as 1,000 years. And 1,000 years is as one day as if it is past. So I want you to understand how Yah reckons the time. The nations don't change. If we study the nations in Torah as thoroughly as we ought to, we're going to learn something about ourselves. You can identify pretty much every nation upon the face of the earth by the works of their forefathers. Israel does exactly what their fathers did. Edom does exactly what their father did. The Philistines, the Hagarenes, Moab, Ammon, Gebal, all of them, they do exactly as their fathers did. So that the times do not change and the nations being identified by way of their behavioral patterns have not changed. Now there is something that is changing, and yet even that is recorded in the Torah of Yah. We have weapons of not only weather modification, but weapons of mind modification. That's mind boggling. When somebody can utilize the ionosphere or the stratosphere to literally mess with the human mind in a way to cause thought processes to enter in that one normally would not do. We're not talking conspiracy theory here now. We're not talking military documentation of things that can be done. And if there is ever a time that the people of Yahweh need Yah's Ruach, it is now. This is why the people of Yahweh, no one should sit in the temple of Yahweh 5 and 10 years, 15, 20 years, and be in the same exact mindset that they entered in with in their initial encounter with Almighty Yahweh. Am I making sense? Yes, I am. We must come up higher in Almighty Yahweh. I read up on the aspect of the Maccabees and all the varying nations. There's a 400-year window of silence between the closing of the book of Malachi and the opening of the book of Matthew. Now, in that 400-year window, the tribulation that the children of Israel went through is so stupendous that historically there's been a massive blackout of that historic time frame. And it is imperative that the people of Yahweh understand what took place in that time frame, because not just the emergence of Christianity and the merger of all the various pagan doctrines of the world, but Yahweh's people lost the semblance of the flavor of the smoking that went into the flavor of your meat, so that the spiritual makeup and the depth and the quality of your forefathers simmered somewhat, so that we lost that same strength and stamina and character, such that we need a revival in Yahshua. And this much needed revival in Yahshua can come about. Let me get ahead of myself. I called the book of Daniel, but let me get ahead of myself. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 32. We need this revival in Yahshua. But I want to show you something about this man. Because a lot of times we read things in the book, but we don't understand how the word of Yah speaks a thing in a manner that gives great singularity of purpose exclusively to Yahshua. Let me say that one again. There are things in the word of Yah that give great singularity of purpose to Yahshua and Yahshua alone. Though it may speak in the broad context of man, there was nothing made that was not made by this man in the power of Yahweh. Isaiah 32:1 says this: Behold, A king shall reign in righteousness, and princes shall rule in mitzvah, or in judgment. You hear me? They're going to rule properly. And a man, now this is the singularity of purpose. It's not just any man. It says, and a man. You got to back up. Behold, a king shall reign in righteousness. You got that? And a man shall be as an hiding place from the wind. Baruch are all they who put their trust in him. Are you listening, Israel? Because as the storms begin to approach, as the storms have lined themselves up in the waters of, what is that? The Atlantic Ocean that we look at there? That's the Atlantic. Somebody looking? Okay, just want to make sure. I know those things. I tend to just get balled up sometimes. We just want to make sure we're looking at this thing properly. And a man should be as an hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. Are you all listening to this? And the eyes of them that see shall not be dim. Israel should see this now. They should see this clearly, that there is no salvation in any other but Yahshua. And the ears of them that hear shall hearken. This is why you tell the children of Israel, you must keep the Torah of Yah. You must obey Yah. You must strive to do all that Yah commands that you do. In reading up on, you all can probably find this on the internet. The 400 years between the New Testament and the Old, the missing years. I'm trying to think of the title of it. I'll have it before the day is over. But you might want to just go online and look up that article, the 400 silent missing years between the Old and New Testament. You want to read that up and get into the history of that real quick, because a lot of the tribulation that hit the children of Israel, many of us today will not make it through because we don't understand the value of the relationship with Yahweh that Israel had. And were it not for the great and precious mercies of Almighty Yahweh, we as a nation would have been like unto Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, you really want to get in trouble with the world today, you start dwelling on Sodomites and start dwelling on the behavior and the mannerisms of the city of Gomorrah and the surrounding city. You really want to get in trouble with them, you start delving into that. Because, see, the outcome of that is the anger. It's like sticking one's fingernail with a fork into the midst of an electrical socket. Because all those men and women that lived that lifestyle understood that it was brought to a swift and abrupt end because of Yahweh's disdain for it. So when you highlight that, that angers them in the same mannerism that you highlight to the children of Israel the need to obey Yahweh. It also angers all the nations of the world that do not seek Yahweh. The nations are angry with you. There's not a more bitter time frame in the history of the world than to look at the alt-right here in America and the alt-left. Just bitter, just angry about everything. I don't care what it is. They can have command and control of everything. And they wake up in the morning and they're bitter. They're mad. They're just angry. These are minds that are possessed by the evil spirits of the fallen ones who hated Yahweh and listened to the counsel of Shaitan in such a way that they are forever cemented in that wicked behavior. Those types of evil spirits must have a physical realm dwelling place, okay? They must dwell in something that's working in this earth in exchange for the dwelling in those vessels. That spiritual mindset of wickedness gives those physical bodies an inordinate amount of information about Yahweh's earth, about Yahweh's creation, about the manipulation of the resources, about the atmosphere, the stratosphere, and all of the various things that Yahweh has made, things that the prophet Hanak has spoken unto us concerning. These men are able to harness the power of the wind, to harness the cold and the heat, the electricity, and to pull things out of the atmosphere, the stratosphere, the ionosphere, and to utilize those things as weapons against Almighty Yahweh's people. You all must understand what I'm saying to you today. You're not in a world where the courtesies and the comforts of righteousness will give you a pass. Did you hear what I just said? You are not in the world where the precious mercies of Almighty Yahweh, where the righteousness and the beauty of the Torah will give you a pass. You're in a world where you will be hated because you seek to implement these things within the privacy of your own live, your own life, in your own bodies, in your own homes. You will be hated because you seek to implement that. That's a level of it's a level of wrestling that we all going to have to come to grips with. You hear me? The nations are going to despise you because you simply choose to live the way that Yahweh says live. This is why Yahshua commanded that we be completely rooted and grounded in the word of Yahweh. You hear what I say? We cannot forever remain seeds on top of the soil. We have to take root, and we have to take root in Yahshua. You understand me, Israel? We got to get beyond the guessing stage of what Yahweh will do for us and get into the stage of knowing that Yahweh will keep his word as far as delivering the children of Israel. I spoke with a beloved sister earlier in the week who's among other people of Almighty Yahweh that rest right in the path of where these hurricanes are scheduled to hit. And according to what they're saying, those things are going to ride, and the effects of the storm are going to pretty much ride up the East Coast. Yahweh's people, wherever we are, have to go into prayer for one another as if we too are right there in the midst of that storm. Don't think because you may be somewhere where it's not raining and you're dry that you are getting off, as they say, scot-free. We have to keep in mind that one Israelite in the midst of trials, tribulations, and turmoil is Yisrael in the midst of trial, tribulations, and turmoil. So be ever mindful of one another, because it's them today, it's you tomorrow. Next week, it's someone else and you're delivered from yours. But we know the value of our obedience to Yahweh because it is the essence of our being. It is our soul. It is all that we are commanded. Look at this verse again. Verse 2 says, "And a man shall be as an hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land." In Yahshua, Isaiah 32:2. I'm sorry, verse 12. 12 noon, Toda Yah. Yeah, I'm watching the clock here, Toda Yah. So, Yisrael, I want you to know for certain, we're going to need Yahshua. We're going to need Yahshua like never before. Let's do this, Israel. Everyone, please do me honor. Let's stand to our feet. We go in prayer for the families of Israel, wherever they are. Abba Yahweh, we come before you today in the midst of our noonday prayer, asking in the name of Yahshua HaMashiach, reminded that he said, "Whatsoever you ask, Abba Yahweh, in my name, that I will do it." Trusting in Almighty Yah's word and in his son Yahshua, that he is not a man that he should lie, we ask you, Yah, for great and notable miracles at this very hour. For your people, wherever they may be found, we ask that you divert and subvert the winds and the rains. Protect your people, Abba Yah, as you did Father Noah in the days of the flood. We ask that you be with your people as you were with Daniel and the Hebrew men in the fire furnace, in the lion's den, in all the trials and the tribulations of Israel, as you gave them light in the midst of darkness. We ask that you be with your people even this very hour. Those that are in need of increased faith, we ask that you give them more faith. Those that have been through the hurricanes and those that have yet to go through, we ask that you protect them, Abba Yah. And at this hour that you deliver them, that they call upon your name and rejoice in the mightiness of it, in the highness of your name, as you said that we shall do. We ask for all of Israel's faith and comfort and courage in you to be increased tenfold. We ask that you rain down upon us a double portion of your Ruach, that you give us the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding to be able to stand, that we not tremble nor flinch in the time of great trials and tribulations, knowing that as it is written in the word, that I can do all things through Yahshua HaMashiach who strengthens me. We ask, Abba Yah, that you be with the elders, that you be with the elder fathers and mothers, that you be with the babies, the newborns, the children, parents, both young and old, both small and great. Wherever your people are found, Abba Yah, we ask for a great and notable miracle, that this hurricane touch not one hair upon the top of their heads. but that their minds and their hearts be strengthened in you, so that they spend the duration of this Shabbat and all Shabbats that you grant unto them in great glory and in great honor, in shouting and in joyfulness to your name, so that the assemblies of Yah will know that Almighty Yah reigneth in Yisrael. Let the assembly simply say, Hallelujah. Say Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Way. This blessed Abba Yah we ask of you as safely as we can. In the name of Yahshua HaMashiach we pray. Hallelujah. Yisrael, you may be seated. We're going to trust Almighty Yahweh that He do just that. And we know that He will. And total Yah for that. We're going to believe that. We're going to trust that. And we're going to know just that. Yah is able to do all things. Not one or two little things. He's able to do all things. And we got to get ourselves in a frame of mind where we know this. Not just believe it, where we know this. You hear what I say, Israel? We got to know that, man. Come on, man. We got to know that. We got to know how to pray. I'm going to show you some wonderful things Yahshua did. In fact, let me do that real quick. I'm going to get ahead of myself, but I'm going to stay right in line with what I need to talk to you about today. Let's do this. Let's go back. Let's go back, and I'm going to show you the mighty works of Yahshua. Now, this is a man. He's trying to get a nap. There's nothing more disturbing than you trying to rest and somebody keep on disturbing you. You're trying to get some rest. You're going to get a little restless. Let's go back and let's look at the book of Matthew chapter 8 real quick. You all right? Let's go back and look at something Yahshua did. See, you're not going to tell me that we don't need to strive to become a man like this. When the scripture commands to let this mind be in you, which is also in Yahshua. When the scripture commands that we have that kind of mind, then that's what we better do. Don't keep on asking, well, why do I need to have that kind of mind? Seek it. That's what we have to learn how to do. Let's go to the book of Matthew chapter 8, verse 23. Listen to the beauty of this and see if you're not going to live this out today. The children of Israel, those of you that are joining us by way of the live stream up and down the East Coast, for those of you that are even on the West Coast, those of you that are in the midst of the nation today, wherever you are that are tuned in, remember yourselves, your brothers and sisters. We have family down in Florida. We have family in Atlanta, family in the Carolinas, both South and North. Family that are in the Virginia regions, all the way up and down the New York, all the way up from Florida to Maine. We have relatives in Yahshua that are there, that are scattered across the face of the earth. I received a letter I read on last evening. Sister was explaining she's down in Texas and just had to deal with the hurricanes, but just the simplicity of receiving a letter and the fact that she was able to make it through was enough for deliverance for me. I told her y'all for that, that y'all took care of our beloved sister, as well as many of the family in Yahshua that are there. Sometimes we don't always know each other, but we know of each other. And therefore we're required, and it is our duty that men ought to always pray and not to faint. You hear me? Pray for one another, Yisrael. And trust y'all. Don't just pray and get up and walk away in doubt. You pray for one another, know that y'all's going to do that. Matthew 8:23. And when he had entered into a ship, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great tempest in the sea. Look at this now. The sea became tempestuous now, insomuch that the ship was covered with the waves. But he was asleep. I like that. You see that? Ship rocking and tormented. He was asleep. Ah. And the disciples came to him and then woke him, saying, Yahshua, Hamashiach, save us, we perish. And he says unto them, why are you fearful, O ye of little faith? Isn't that the type of answer you want? That ain't what you want. You want somebody to speak some soft, comforting words to you. You want somebody, come on. Years ago, I had a problem. I went to my father. I needed some help. So this was some earthly help. You go to a man, you're looking for some earthly help. Just give me the earthly help I need. Let me scat. So the answer my father gave me wasn't nothing like I was looking for. So I go to my father. I'm discussing one problem. My father gives me an answer to another problem. My father says to me, boy, you ain't praying like you ought to pray. What's that got to do with what I'm talking to you about now? Not understanding in the infantile state of mind in which I was thinking. He says, you're not praying like you ought to pray. And he went through a spiel on prayer and how prayer needs to be done. And what I needed him to help me do, he didn't do it. Said to go away and pray. And in the process of being sent away to pray, y'all worked that thing out. And in about 2 days, it had worked itself out. And as I looked back and I reflected, I said, now you see, no man's hand did that. Y'all did it. But the old man said, you ain't praying like you ought to pray. Whereas in the situation, my wife said it was the truth. Did y'all hear that? She said it was the truth. She's right. It was the truth. Even though I thought man's hands would help out, nah, the hand of Yahweh is always better. You hear me, Israel? So Yahshua says unto them, O ye of little faith. Then he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, and there was great calm. But the men marveled, saying, what manner of man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? Come on, man. You see, what type of man is this? Who in the world has that kind of power to come out of a nap and to rebuke the wind and the sea, and it obeys him? Come on, man. See, you have men today, they walk the face that they don't even believe things like that. They take credit, oh, I don't believe that. I talked to a man in a mall a couple of weeks back, and he could tell me about Egypt and the scripture. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I said, well, it's interesting that a liar doesn't have to believe Yahweh for Yahweh to be true. And I was looking him straight in his eye. I let him know. He doesn't catch him what I said. I said, it's interesting that a liar doesn't believe Yahweh, but you don't have to believe Yahweh for Yahweh to be true. But a liar will stand in your face and tell you a lie and expect you to believe that he's telling the truth. And I said to the man, isn't that amazing? And the man says, yes, it is. Now, he didn't even realize he was bearing witness to the fact that you were standing in my face, lying to me and expecting me to believe that you don't believe Yahweh exists. You will in the right day. I give you my word on that. Let me tell you all, they sneak and listen to this channel. Don't think that they don't. And I don't care. I don't pay them no mind. They sneak and listen to the channel. If you listen long enough, chances are you'll probably hear your funeral preached while you are yet alive. I'm going to promise you wicked men that. I'm not talking to the children of Israel that listen. I'm not talking to Israel that when we listen to the words of Yah and we hear things that condemn us, the word of Yah touches us all. It touches every single one of us. But I'm talking men that don't believe, that will sit and listen as if to imply, what will this babbler say today? Oh, we have enough in Yah's word for everybody. There's no doubt about that. Yah's word rebukes and chastises us all. It cuts to the bone, to the marrow. It divides asunder both soul and spirit. So let's be clear on that. So the fact that the nations don't believe, man, that's of no concern to me. You hear what I say? That's of no concern to me. Let's do this. Let's go back to the book of Mark. We find this same story, 435. I want to get into the dynamics of this now. And the same day, when the even was come, he said unto them, let us pass over to the other side. And when they had sent away the multitude, they took him even as he was in the ship. And there was also with him other little ships. Look at that now. And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship, so that it was now full. So now a little water came on this thing now. That's enough to frighten you. Now the water come up high enough, man. It get your attention. And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep now on a pillow. And they awake him and say unto him, Master, carest thou not that we perish? Look at that. You don't care that we perish? See, sometimes we say things to one another in the most decrepit of sarcasms, not understanding who they were talking to, even though they knew whose presence they were in. Sometimes we don't understand who we're talking to. And he arose and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, peace, shalom, be still. You hear that? Shalom, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And when he said unto them, why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? Come on. I talked to a beloved sister yesterday concerning the storm, and I marveled for a split second at the beauty of her level of faith concerning what she said to me about the storm. And all I could do was say, Toda Yah. The phone rang. I was working on the job site. I looked at it. I saw the call out there. I immediately walked off the job site. I could get away from the jackhammers and the noise so that I could hear. I remember when I asked Yah years ago to help me and be able to have a phone line open and readily available to serve the people of Yahweh. And as I program your numbers in as often as I can, if I don't answer you all's call, believe me, I was too busy to grab it. I couldn't get to it, or something stopped me. But other than that, I try to take all the calls. I check the voicemail. I pay attention because I never know when it's the people of Yahweh. Trust me. So as she began to expound upon the faith and to ask for prayer, I began to pray immediately. And y'all drew attention to my mind that it is already done. And I began to total y'all for that. We're going to have to get to that particular mindset where we know and understand that what we ask Yahweh for, he will do it immediately. And if by chance y'all doesn't move immediately, that's all right. You keep right on praying. You keep right on pressing on. You keep right on fighting, okay? That's how your strength and your encouragement is done. Come on now. And we have to know that. And they feared exceedingly and said one to another, here they go again. What manner of man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? See, people don't know what manner of man this is. They don't know what manner of man we serve because there was nothing that was made that was not made by him. Proverbs 8 teaches us that as he says concerning that very body, he says that I was always with Yahweh from the beginning. He says Yahweh possessed me from the beginning of his way. Come on, man. Before the earth was formed, before the mountains were settled, he said, I was there. Come on, Israel. Yeah. There is no weapon that can be formed against Israel that can prosper because he made all things. If he says that Israel has an eternal excellency in Almighty Yahweh through Yahshua, then they have an eternal excellency. I don't think we understand the beauty of our existence in Yahweh. Pause, everyone, right here, right now. I want you to think on this very thought. You ready? Say to yourselves, I have an eternal excellency through Yahshua. Now think about that. You can't even imagine what life will be like inside of the next 100 years. And yet you have an eternal excellency with Yah. You see, the book says that eye hath not seen, ear hath not heard, neither has it entered into the hearts of men the top things that Yah has in store for those who wait for him. He has not even allowed you to perceive how far in advance he loved you before you were even born, and how far into the future that you will forever be before you get there. You don't even have a mind to conceive that as love. But Shaitan has a mind that is so wickedly rebellious against Yahweh. He has tried to take all things that Yahweh has made to weaponize it, to destroy you, to obliterate you. Are you listening? Shaitan is no alternative. He is the destruction of all things. He is the destruction of himself. This is why Yah saves him for last. Come on, man. Those that obey him, the beast and the false prophet, they're in the lake before he even gets there. And yet he engineered it all. Can you imagine that? Come on, Yisrael. We're not thinking. So that as we stretch out in faith in Almighty Yahweh, we want to be able to forever rejoice in the highness of Yahweh. Come on, Yisrael. Let's go through the book. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 12. I'm gonna relax today. I'm gonna take my time because we need to have our strength in Yahweh increased, so that as the nations of the earth are on their wondrous tours, and as they begin to concoct more and more most deviant ways to destroy the earth, we are reminded in Revelations 11:18, where Yah says that he's going to give rewards to his nabis, to his Kedushim, to his servants, to them that fear his name, both small and great, and shall destroy them that destroy the earth. Somebody's gonna get it, man. Somebody gonna get it. Aren't you glad you're not one of those of a mind that just want to destroy the earth and to destroy all? Come on, man. You have to have a most extremely diabolical mind to sit down and figure out ways to take things out of the earth and out of the earth's atmosphere that cannot even be seen with the natural eye, and weave them together in such a way so as to create a weapon simply to destroy. You have to have a mind and a heart so filled with hatred to even conceive of something like that. You hear what I say? In my home, there are various chemicals and things that you need. You need gas for your lawnmowers. Sometimes you may need Drano or window washing cleaners and things for household uses or purposes that are poisonous. In your mind, you immediately childproof things like that. because you don't want children to come into contact with it. Things like that you have locked away or stored or up high where children could not get to them, in places or positions where children would not think to go there. And if they do think to go there, they couldn't even get a hold of it because you love them well enough that you protect them. Am I correct? But now imagine a mind that seeks to take everything, animals, plant life, germs, chemicals, splice them together and mix them in ways where you introduce them into the atmosphere. You introduce them into the water supply, into the food supply, seeking ways to destroy people. That is a mindset that is not of Yeshua. So a mindset like that is not to be obeyed. It is not to be befriended. It is not to be envied. It is a mindset that one must run from and flee into the name of Yahweh and Yahshua. The book of Psalm says that the name of Yahweh, it is a strong tower. Am I correct? The righteous runneth into it and are safe. Come on, man. And that's where Israel must go. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 12. I'm gonna look at this here now. Again, we're gonna be dealing with the tribulation of Israel. Sometimes it's for the children of Israel to just learn the word of Yah. You a lot of times you can't get the people of Yah to learn because we're in a state now in the mind where they have us so flighty. We're like the, I hate to use this, but it's the truth, so I'm gonna use it. We have the mentality of the 80s crack addict. They were always hurried. They needed to do everything in a way. They couldn't sit still. They were fidgety. They always needed to move. We have that sort of mindset toward Yahweh. But we'll get cleaned up in the literal sense of the word, and we'll go and we'll seek a job, or we'll seek job training, or we'll seek positions in housing. You got to go through programs or whatever the case may be, and we'll humble ourselves. We'll calm down, and we'll apply ourselves. We'll become very studious for that. But when it comes to the Torah of Yahweh, we come to the house of Yahweh with the spiritual makeup of the 80s crack addict. We're in a hurry to learn. Give me the book. Give me the Torah. I want to know this. I want to know that. I want to know this. I want to know that. I want to know. And we don't know anything because we run from this table to that table to this table to that table. We're here, we're there, we're here, we're there. And yet we end up learning nothing. You don't go to school like that. You don't learn. You don't go to school today and you're in kindergarten, you're happy. First couple of days you cry. I know how I was. I'm not even gonna lie to you. My mother took me there. I thought it was the coolest thing I ever had. My mother took me there. My mother let me introduce to some people and I got to play and I went and got a couple of toys, brought it back over there by my mother. My mother said, well, you go over there and get that and go do this and you go do that. I went back over there, got this, got that. I brought it back over there by my mother. Those children come up and they talk to me. I'll never forget this day. And I got distracted and looked around for my mother. And she wasn't there. It was a terrible feeling, man. I didn't like that. Because then you look up and realize, hey, I don't know none of y'all. You and I were just playing 2 minutes ago, but I don't know you. Until you adjust. You hear what I'm saying? The comfort that Israel needs in Yahweh. Unlike the mother that has to leave us as we're kindergartners. You don't decide, well, you know, I really don't like this. I want the comfort of my mother. But look, tell you what, I'm going to move out this kindergarten class. I'm going up here with the 5th graders. You don't do that. You don't learn that way. You still finish out kindergarten, right? Now, if I were as smart as I should have been, I'd have dropped out in kindergarten. But I was stupid. I stayed for the program, and I went all the way through. And as you can see, they messed us up. You all will get that way. Trust me. They mess you up. Think about it. The apostle says concerning the word of Yahweh that we have not followed cunningly devised fables. I was looking at some work of man the other day. He says, well, people believe the fables of the Bible. They believe this. So he's called the whole book fables. So I'm like, okay, here's a man that does not know the proper definition of a fable. Fables are stories in which animals are walking and talking in the place of humans. I'm not talking just where Balaam's ass spoke to him. We're not talking that wasn't a fable. Yah can use it and can do as he chooses. Fables are stories where, like they teach you in school, The rabbit and the tar baby having the race, and slap the tortoise and the rabbit, all that stupid stuff. The little red hen going to the market with a basket, no money, no debit card, but the hen is going to the market. You understand? Now, as you get a little older, you start asking yourself stupid questions like, number one, why did you all even teach us that stupid story? Hens go to market and usually they get bought by you and I because we're going to take them home and eat them. Am I correct? And even then, they're already dead and frozen, if memory serves me correct. I think that's the way it goes in the markets. But yet, somebody sells us all these fables and we believe that. But then, Yahweh, in his great and awesome power, that is not limited by no means because of the limited constructs of our mind, through Yahweh, all things are possible. And then we start to doubt him. But we'll believe these people who teach us stupid fables, and we sit still in school for the programming. We do. Don't think you don't. Come on now. They made you up until a few years ago. They made you jump up every time they played that music. And you put your right hand over your heart and you jump up and you listen. You don't even know what you're getting up for, but you put that hand. My father used to teach us ever since we were little, don't do that. You don't even have to stand. Don't stand. My father told us that. It shocked the children in our school, and of course, some of us, we have that sway with people as a child. So my father said we don't believe in that. We pledge our allegiance to Almighty Yahweh. The teacher says, Yahweh, what's that? So I had to get a note from my parent. My father was wise, man. He didn't believe in no note. He showed up the next day. He was the note. And he explained our belief system. And that was the end of that. See, you all thought it just started with Kaepernick. No. This started with Almighty Yah from the beginning of time. He says, you shall have no other before me. He meant that. We don't have to take a knee. We stand on our feet. And we stand for Yahweh. We don't have to take a knee for none of their tones. A knee is submission. It's partial submission. All right, I'm halfway against this, but I'm halfway with you. We're not taking a knee. Our knees are for bowing and bending and praying unto the great King. When we take a knee, we're honoring the great King. When we take a knee, it's because we're taking both knees, because we're going to bow before him. We're not taking a knee for you because we have what you have against you. It's going to be none of that. You hear me, Yisrael? That's right. We stand because we're completely against you. Daniel 12:1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered. I want y'all to stop right there and look at that very carefully, because he gives a specified time frame where there will be trouble upon the face of this earth. Trouble such as there was not since nations began to be formed. Okay? It is Yahweh who formed the nations. So we start going back to the beginning and we look at the battle sheet at the beginning of the nations and all the trouble that they did. Why this particular time frame will the works and the mannerisms of the nations be so wicked that it is unprecedented in a globally historical scale? You're going to have to ask yourself some key questions, such as, on whose watch will this type of unprecedented behavior take place? The people are so smooth with their language and their ability to condemn others while refusing to have you condemn them that they will make it illegal for you to even discuss this. This is serious when somebody now has outlawed. See, we live in a society now where people have the complete and total advantage. They have control of all things. They have control of the earth, the land, the air, the resource, the food, the water supply, the banking industry, education. You name it, they have complete control over it all. And they will stop every day and look around and say to themselves, my advantage is not enough. I still need more. That is a mindset that will not submit to any negotiations, okay? That is a mindset that will not submit to any pleading, any request for a reprieve. None of that appeases that kind of mindset. It is a mindset that is born in death, and it will continue to produce only death. We then must be on the side of he who gives life. And in that, We have to serve Yahweh with all our being. Does that make sense, Yisrael? This is why the children of Israel can't be just so hypocritical in our analysis of the world and just think ourselves to just be the wisest of the wise and to be the most brainiac, to be the richest, to be the wealthiest, to be the most whatever. We cannot function like that. We're going to have to be very meek, very lowly in the way in which Yah commands us. We're going to be in this world. We're going to have to spend as if we don't have. We're going to have to be in this world as if we are not in this world. We're going to have to do all things with the lowest levels of moderation because what little that we have now, they're ready to even take that from us. Are you listening, Israel? This is why the people of Yahweh must draw closer to Yah and take full, say that one real slow, take full advantage of the Shabbat. Because just as Yahshua told Israel that there was a day coming when they wouldn't be able to go into the temple because there would not be left one stone upon top of another. The times are coming when you're not going to be able to go into the house of worship to worship Yahweh because that spirit of anti-Mashiach, it is in this earth and it hates Yahweh and it is moving in ways at rapid speeds of advancement to destroy the worship, to break up, as Daniel says, the power of the Kodesh people. Your power is in your relationship with Yahweh. Your power is in your communion with Yahweh. Your power is in your adherence to the Torah of Yahweh. Your power it is in your prayer, which is your direct phone call to Almighty Yahweh. Are you listening, Israel? When someone seeks to break that up, they want to break up you ever had that one person that does not like you, but yet they don't want anyone else to like you either? You ever had that? You have to understand that's the spirit of Shaitan. That's the world you're in. Shaitan does not like the people of Yahweh, and he does not want his people to like the people of Yahweh. You'll have them on the job, in the schools. Your children will go through this where people don't play with him. Get away from him. Don't bother him. You'll have that. You hear what I say? You'll have that. Yah shows in the word of Daniel as well, again in Daniel 11, I'm not going there, but he also shows that there's a time coming when the world will be so against Yahweh's people, but even some of us will fall. The scripture says we'll be helped by some of the children that are outside the covenant of Yahweh. It says you'll be helped with a little help. So sometimes even those that are going to at this time draw forth with that system and take that mark, some of them are going to look, they can't turn, but they'll look up and realize they shouldn't have done it. It'll be too late to even turn. Come on, man. We got to start looking at what they're doing in this earth. And today, Yah willing, I'm going to show you some of what they're doing in the earth. And in fact, most of us that are alive today, what they're doing today in this earth, they've been doing that for the last 50 or 60 years anyway. So it's no news at all. Sometimes it's news because it has to just simply be correlated and put in the proper context so that the people of Yahweh can see it. Okay? So he says that there should be a time of trouble such as was not since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered. But look at the definition. Everyone that shall be found written in the book. Notice, we have to obey. We have to make certain that our names are written in the book, because your names can be blotted out. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake. Listen now. Some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. Okay? Y'all's going to pay these people. I don't care what they say. I was reading a book called Religion for Atheists. This is real interesting. Don't even go out and buy the book. I'm telling all of you right now, don't waste $1 on this book. If you got $1, you better off you just go right outside and throw it in the air somewhere. If you got some money to waste, you'd be better off doing that. Don't go buy this book. I'm just quoting it. Written by a silly little Jewish dude. This where it gets interesting. And the Jewish community, they baffle me with this. I dare any Jewish person write me or call me and tell me why you can say this and how you can still be the chosen people. Can you imagine being called or calling yourself the chosen people? And yet you're atheist? Silliest thing you've ever heard, right? That's what a lot of them, they call themselves secular. And just understand, secular means without the Almighty, without Ruach. They'll say, well, it's non-religious. No, cut that. You mean you are void of the Almighty. So this secular Judaism, it's a racial thing. It's a hatred. It's a tension. It's an animosity that's created because you want to be in the coveted position of the ones chosen by Almighty Yahweh. But you'll stand and say Yahweh does not exist, but we're the chosen people. Well, then who chose you? Think. You hate Yahweh. You ever notice none of the atheists ever hate Satan? Y'all ever think about that? Think now. Find one atheist that hates Satan. How is it Satan don't get no hatred? Think. Must be your daddy. You all listening? Must be your daddy. You love him that much. You don't hate him. But when somebody mentions Yahweh, you don't believe in Yahweh. Well, come on. Anyway, in the book Religion for Atheists, he goes into the process of explaining how his parents belittled them as children if they expressed the slightest sentiment towards spiritual belief, the belief in the Almighty, that their parents ridiculed them. How then do you continue to say that you are the chosen one? Chosen by who? This is a mystery to me. Chosen by who? And what rules are you thereby following? Because all the rules of the chosen ones are given by Almighty Yahweh. What type of sickness can command the mind and the vessel of a person where you hate the one that did the choosing, yet you hate him, say he does not exist, but yet you want to remain in the slot of the chosen one that he himself chose? Now tell me that ain't crazy. Okay? So somebody gonna get up to shame and everlasting contempt. But they that trust Yahweh, listen, they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But you, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Yahweh is increasing the knowledge of his people now to a point and a degree. We don't need all the knowledge of the world, the astrophysics, the chemistry, the biology. You don't need all that. I'm going to tell you, you can go to these man's schools, you can learn this stuff, you can major in it, and then you'll come away and draw the simple conclusion, I don't even need all that stuff. You will. You'll come to that simple conclusion. You don't need. Come on, I was in their schools and their little colleges, and when it hit me, I admit this now. When it hit me that I no longer needed to be there, I ain't hesitate leaving. I got a phone call the other day from a telemarketer telling me about my student loan has been chosen for a significant, what's the word she used? Rate reduction. Yeah, rate reduction. Yeah, pretty much rape. We can go with that. Rape reduction. We'll lessen the tension of the rape. Anyway, a rate reduction, she says. So I said, you sure you got the right person? Well, yes, I got so and so and so and so and so and so. Oh, really? Rate reduction? I'm thinking to myself, miss, I know you got the wrong man. I ain't been inside of a school inside the last 30 years. I know good and well you ain't thinking I'm going to pay you some money that you think, oh, after 30 years you ain't paid. Guess what? You better go to the prayer. It says, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And let me see if I got this straight. You overcharged me anyway. Okay? I forgive you because you were trying to rob me. I forgive you. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. I forgive you because you know I ain't going to pay you because I wasn't learning anything anyway. Why should I pay you for lies when y'all gives us the truth for free? So now I'm going to put that out there in the best of the means of its application. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. You have robbed and stolen from us all along. I am not about to pay you any money that I don't. So I knew they just were doing some old marketing scam or something of that nature. But the point I'm trying to make here is, look, I'm not going to pay you for anything that Almighty Yah gives unto his people by way of the Ruach for free. He says unto Israel that freely you have received, freely give. So I'm going to show you some things in the word of Yah that we need that will strengthen us as a nation. I want to say to the body of Israel in Yahshua, wherever we are, that we're going to have to calm down as a people. We can't rip and run with every conspiracy theory that emerges and is applied on that internet. We're going to have to learn how to avoid things like that. Their dialogue and their conversation is not our dialogue, and it is not our conversation, because the things that they're doing and what they're into, they are against Almighty Yahweh. Some of the things that you're going to learn in the assembly or in the temple of Yahweh, you as the regular body in Yahshua, you just have to tuck it away, live by it, apply it, and keep it moving. Because see, everybody's not going to hear everybody. You hear what I say? Everybody's not going to listen to and or hear everybody. So the people of Yahweh must understand that. Ecclesiastes 8 and 11, I believe it says. Somebody check behind me real quick. Ecclesiastes 8 and 11 says, I believe, though sentence concerning an evil work is long coming, therefore are the hearts of the sons of men fully set to do evil. I believe that's what. Anybody got that? Is that what it says? Y'all moving slow. That's what it says? Okay. Their minds are fully set because it doesn't appear that Yahweh is paying them off by any means. Our people right now, a lot of people globally are upset. We're upset because the media fans the flames of things sometimes. Pardon me. The media, they know how to market. They know how to do things to you. They know how to get you in the market. They know how to get you in the mood. They know how to get you in the supermarket. They know how to get you in anywhere they want to get you. They can sell you a mattress. And this works for most people. They can sell you a mattress. All they got to do is put a naked woman out there with a breast hanging out. The next thing you know, somebody's another, we do need a new mattress. As if the woman he just saw on the TV is the one going to be there selling it to him when he get there to make his day. They'll sell you an old rusty coffee pot. Again, just put a half naked woman out there with a breast hanging out. We haven't bought a new coffee pot in years. Well, they're selling this brand new rusted one. Dented all up, thrown out, found in 1862. They're selling that for $49.99. How do you think we should get one? And she'll say, yeah. And next thing you know, it's in the house. So we buy into things. We listen to the nonsense of those who don't believe in Yahweh. Satan has granted unto his children a specified level of power, though he hates them. We as the people of Yahweh, we got to get up off of that internet and that internet conspiracy theory stuff sometimes. Sometimes you got to read stuff and look at stuff. I'm going to quote some articles and some stuff. I read a lot of these books and the material sometimes. And as a researcher, I go back and track it and I pull the articles because I want the literal facts. I try to tell people a lot of times, see, these internet junkies and the stories that they produce a lot of times, these are things, somebody smoking reefer, live out in the woods somewhere, got a cabin. He concoct a theory. He put it up, make it look good, make it sound formal. He quote a couple people that don't even exist, what have you. And next thing you know, somebody, oh, look at this news. And they believe it. But then when other things do happen that are the fulfillments of Yahweh's word of prophecy, people are like, oh man, I don't hear that stuff. And that's how we live. That's how we function. This is how they have us as the children of Israel in a world now where we really are going to have to get up off of practically everything in life that we have been accustomed to in order to be saved. Are you listening? We're going to have to get up off of it. This week, as I was praying that y'all open my eyes and to help me understand it, we need to know something, that there's nothing more devastating to the human mind in this era of time than to lose all that one has, to come out of any type of devastation with nothing more than the clothes that one is wearing at that precise moment. That's a devastating thing, to not be able to go back to the comfort of your home, having lost access to your cell phone chargers, to your pages, to your electronics, to your plasma TVs, to all the stuff that we might have in our homes, to the beauty of our luxury cars. We can just jump in them, step on the gas, and go. But to look out and see entire cities with water that has come up well above the windows of 747 aircrafts. I want you to hear that. If you've looked at some of the pictures of what went on in Houston just a couple of weeks ago, you see where the planes were out on the tarmac, underwater, just submerged. I want you to understand this now. I was reading an article in, what's that magazine? I can't think of the name of it. It's, doesn't matter. A financial magazine. I was reading an article that really hurt me because I realized you're getting ready to smash the poor people. In the article about the stock market, they were saying Berkshire Hathaway, Geico, State Farm, they were naming all the big insurance companies, how even after Hurricane Harvey, which when all tallied up is going to be above $50 billion, Katrina was 49.8. Harvey's going to be a little more than that, they're saying. But what they were saying was, I want you to hear what they said. They're not anticipating a great deal of claims from homeowners, because most homeowners forego flood insurance because you don't buy that just particularly through the mortgage company. You have to do that through a separate federal agency. So then insurance companies come back and claim and deny stuff by claiming act of God. You all hear that clause in there. We ain't paying for that. He did that. But it's atheist society now. Come on, let's deal with it as they are. They fake and hide behind Christianity, but they being a bunch of atheists. Suddenly now you can lie and claim that you believe in something. Are you all listening to how sick this is? Just to cheat and to get over. So the article was saying We don't really expect a lot because a lot of the homeowners didn't file under that. So we can pay out, but we won't even pay out enough to bust us as an industry because we have upwards of 150 to 350 billion in functional open-ended capital. In other words, they have just enough money. 300 billion, it wouldn't even hurt them. But they're not going to have to pay it out because most of the people are going to just eat that as a loss. Are you all listening? I want you to hear what they're saying. They're saying flat out, we ain't paying for that. But the article goes further and it acknowledges that because of slowed business, because of delays or stoppages altogether, or complete and utter destruction of a businesses, they know that the businesses or the commercial aspect of it are going to file. And because there are far more homeowners than there are business owners, they can pay out and it won't even put a dent in the insurance industry's capital base. I want y'all to hear how this society caters to the rich, to the elite, to the wealthy. And if Yahshua does not step in, and the scripture says, except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. I want to tell you all now, we don't need to sow seeds of a conspiracy theory. All we need to do is lay out the evidence as they themselves lay it out. I want you to hear me. The business community is going to cover the business community. Some of the ways of gentrification and taking over cities and restructuring and doing things the way they want to do it is because of weather modifications. It's because of weapons and warfare, okay? And I want to touch in on some of that, and I want to quote them as they say it. That way you all can look up and say, well, you know, Elder Johnson did give the source. He did say where it came from. Having a lot of this stuff in my files sometimes, this stuff is read, analyzed, it's locked away. I make notes of it based on my scriptures and things like that, and it's put away. And you don't see it or hear it for years until the Ruach of Yah commands you. Go back in the file. You go pull this, you go pull that. Everything I pulled today was sitting right in my office on the shelf. Everything I went there, I can see the bookcase now. Go there, walk, make the turn. It's right there to the left. The 4 books I pulled were all right there together. Boom, pulled them down, went through my notes. Everything was already highlighted. Didn't have to read anything because it was already laid out 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. I read it, looked at it, saw these days coming. So when you start accusing the Department of Defense of working for Satan, it's all right to say that. When you start accusing the global business community of working with Satan, it's all right to say that. When you start accusing NASA and Westinghouse, General Electric, and all these companies of working in conjunction with Satan to destroy people in the earth, it's all right to say it, especially when you can catch them having said that this is what they're going to do. If we don't turn to Yahweh as a people in record numbers and begin to lift up Yahshua's name in prayer and call upon Yahweh from the highest of the heavens, many of us that might have a chance won't have a chance because we're not praying collectively. These are all things that must come to pass. But the deliverance of Israel as a nation is something that too must come to pass. But it will not come to pass if we are not cognizant of how we must pray for one another, as well as be ready to drop what we're doing at a moment's notice and run to the aid and assistance of each other, okay? The nations of this earth, they agree, man. They drop what they're doing. Somebody discover, hey, man, listen, we need a global conference. We discovered something. We can shoot electricity into the air, and we can shift the clouds, and we can shift the wind, and we can take the weather and use it as a weapon. We need to have a conference because I don't mind sharing what I got. Just don't you use it against me, and I won't use it against you. So when these people call meetings like that, where are the minds of the people that know Yahweh, that he allows to see into this to say, you stand clear, you move over here, you go over there, you pray for this, you pray against that. We must understand that this is warfare. The scripture says in Revelation 12 that Shaitan was wroth with the woman, and he went to make war with the remnant of her seed that have the commandments of Yahweh and the faith of Yahshua. That's not a group of people that are highly loved in the world, okay? Come on, man. Come on, Yisrael. Let's just be real with ourselves. We don't even now, at this late stage in the game, have to hate any nation. Let me say that one slow. We don't have to hate anybody. All we got to do is stand back and carefully observe those who hate Yahweh and hate Yahweh's people, because they're making their hatred of Yahweh and of his people, they're making it known. And when we stand back and just carefully observe them, we're going to come to a conclusion that's awe-inspiring. Their hatred of Yahweh is so intense that they do not mind showing it. You just have to know what you're looking at. Y'all all right? Let's do this. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30. I want to point out something that we need to keep in mind. Any power that man has, it's given to him because Yahweh allows man to have it, okay? But when man acquires that power, he can't get above himself now and act like he did this of his own accord, because the power still is reverted right back to Yahweh. All things that man has, he has it because Yahweh has allowed it. Even if Shaitan give it to him, it's because Yahweh allows Shaitan that type of knowledge. Jeremiah 30, verse 23. Y'all read this with me and look at it carefully. It says, "Behold, the whirlwind of Yahweh goeth forth with fury." So let's not act like these hurricanes and these tornadoes aren't the result of Yahweh allowing it to go forth. Whether he commands the wind, or whether he allows man to have that kind of knowledge to do so. The whirlwind of Yahweh goeth forth with fury, a continuing whirlwind. It shall fall with pain upon the head of the wicked. Did you hear that? It shall fall. The fierce anger of Yahweh shall not return until he have done it, until he have performed it, or performed the intents of his heart. In the latter days ye shall consider it. We need to think about these things right here, right now. Though we look at some of the things as weather, weapons of modification, and things of that nature, we have to see that. I want to quote from an older book. Let's see, this book was published in initially 1995 and was reproduced again in 2002. This is how long it's been in my files. I got it when it first came out. Again, 1995, copyright, and then republished in 2002. This book is entitled Angels Don't Play This Harp. HAARP. Angels Don't Play This Harp. Now, HARP stands for High Active Aurora Research Project. Something in there. It ain't the harp with the boom, 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 the string. It ain't that. Okay. I want you to hear what the author lays out in a tract of data. In 1886 through 1888, Nikola Tesla invented a system of alternating current, that is AC power, and direct source transmission system, a 60 pulse per second hertz power grid spread over the land. Mother Earth will eventually dance to a different beat than her usual 7.8 hertz. In other words, 1886, this man created this alternating current. 1900, Tesla applies for a patent on the device to transmit electrical energy through the natural mediums. In other words, somebody figured out how to transmit electricity just straight through the airwaves. That's interesting. You ever went in a house after a cold winter day and rub your feet on the carpet, create some friction, and something go to touch the doorknob, pow, you get the shock. Okay, now imagine somebody able to harness that type of energy and control it now, like you do through walkie-talkie, cell phones. It carries through the air. Yeah, anyway. In 1905, the patent for that was issued. 1940, Tesla announced that he had invented a death ray. A ray that could pull the energy from the sky, electricity, and aim it or shoot it anywhere he wants to, like a tractor beam, like we call it infrared, and kill anything he wanted to kill with it. Listen to the date. This is 1940. Atomic bomb tests began. 40,000 electromagnetic pulses were soon to follow. The Van Allen radiation belts were discovered in zones of charged particles trapped in the Earth's magnetic field 2,000 miles up, violently disrupted in the same year. So then they figured out 2,000 miles above the Earth was a belt over the Earth where they could now harness electrical energy. These people, with the mindset that they had to figure out how to do things, weaponized everything. By 1958, Project Argus, the U.S. Navy explodes 3 nuclear bombs in the Van Allen belt. Now notice, they were testing this stuff. 1958, the White House advisor on weather modification says the Department of Defense is studying ways to manipulate charges of the earth and sky, and so, in effect, control the weather. This is 1958, okay? By 1960s, a series of weather disasters began. Isn't it interesting? 58, you say, hey, man, we can control the weather. 2 years later, for some strange reason or another, weather patterns start changing. By 1961, copper needles were being dumped into the ionosphere as telecommunications shield. In other words, we can communicate with one another. We dump these little needles up into space. They'll stay up there, they'll float, and the electricity particles hits it. It keeps it from just having a signal sent out in space somewhere. You never know where it go. Bounce it off those particles and keep it afloat, and we can communicate. This is serious knowledge now. This ain't something you just gonna go sit down and figure out in 30 seconds. Okay, I got it, and you're gone. By 1961, scientists proposed artificial ion cloud experiments. In the 60s, the dumping of chemicals, that is barium powder, from the satellites and from the rockets began to be utilized. By 61 and 62, the USSR and the USA created many electromagnetic pulses, that is EMPs, in the atmosphere, which are 300 megatons of nuclear devices that can deplete the ozone layer of about 4.5%. Yeah. This is wicked, man. In 1966, G. Gordon G.F. McDonald published his military ideas on environmental engineering. I'm going to come back to that name because I got to talk about something. By 1973, I'm skipping a few years here. Recommendations for study of the Project Sanguine's biological effects were denied by the Navy. The United Nations General Assembly bans environmental warfare in 74. In other words, they looked up and realized you can use all this stuff for environmental warfare. No, ban that. Don't use that. That doesn't mean they didn't use it. It's just the UN said ban it. Ah, man. By 1975, Stanford professor Robert Hillewell reports that very low frequency from power lines is alternating the ionosphere. So power lines are things you see. Sometimes people are wondering why they're sick, not feeling well or their best, because power lines are doing things in the atmosphere that affect the human body as well as are affecting the weather. There you have it. Pell Committee urges weather and climate modification work be overseen by a civilian agency answerable only to the U.S. Congress, but it didn't happen. Soviet Union in 75 began working on something called woodpecker, which is an extremely low frequency wave and transmits at key brainwave rhythms in Eugene, Oregon, one of the locations where people were particularly affected. So now somebody got to go back and look at the studies from 1975 when the people in Eugene, Oregon just started acting funny for some strange reason or another. I want you to hear what I'm saying. In 1975, you were doing things in the atmosphere that mess with people's minds. Are you listening? These are not righteous men, Yisrael. Ah, man. By 1985, I'm skipping a few years now, Bernard Esterlin applies for a patent, method and apparatus for altering a region in the Earth's atmosphere, ionosphere, or magnetosphere. Somebody applied for a patent for something that could change the atmosphere. 1994, military contractor E-Systems buys APTI, holder of Esterlin's patents and contracts, to build the biggest ionospheric heater in the world of high-frequency active oral research project. This is HARP. They bought something to take the world's largest heater. You're talking about ozones and the melting of the polar ice caps and all this other stuff. Somebody invented something that could literally heat up the Earth's atmosphere, beam that heat back to the Earth, and melt your polar ice caps. Pay attention to the destruction of the mind of the people that we're describing here. You don't have to hate them because they have enough hatred for everybody. But the book does say love the good and hate the evil. I want you to hear what I'm saying. Bear with me. This sounds a little boring, but it's going to pick up. Trust me. This is going to pick up like Irma. So y'all brace yourselves, okay? 1994, Congress freezes all funding on HARP until planners increase emphasis on Earth-penetrating tomography uses for nuclear counterproliferation efforts. Raytheon in 1995 buys E-Systems that adds old APTI patents. The technology is now hidden among thousands of patents within one of the largest defense contractors' portfolios. So in other words, they kept buying up the different companies, hiding the rights to the patents because now it's private. So you can't go looking it up, seeing what it is that they've done, even though they got to file for a patent with the U.S. office. Congress budgets $10 million for another 1996 under nuclear counterproliferation efforts for HARP. HARP planners tested patent number 5,041,834 in September of 95. The test of the first stage of HARP equipment continues, though funding was frozen. HARP planners then test the Earth penetrating tomography applications by modulating the electrojet of ELF frequencies. In other words, they shot this thing into the Earth in extremely low frequency waves, learning how to shock the Earth's core and shake the Earth and create earthquakes. Are you listening? I told y'all this is going to pick up. I ain't picked up yet. We just cruising down the runway. The European Parliament Subcommittee on Security and Disarmament holds a hearing on HARP, February 5th, 1998. Co-author of this book, Bajic, presents HARP and new weapons technology. Now, what they did was, in essence, sat together and said, the European weather model, I want you to understand this, even the weather model, which they said on This Morning America's News, was it? That the European weather model has been the most accurate so far, and I'm wondering why. It has been the most accurate because the United States and the European Union came together as one in 1995, started sharing all the information that they had. And of course, you're sharing what you have because you are the co-creators of it. So quite naturally, if you create the weather patterns and you can send these hurricanes in any direction you want, of course you can predict where it's going because you can control where it's going. Are y'all listening to me? Projected period for HARP operations. Listen to this. 2001 to 2017. Projected period for HARP operations being fully operational. Developmental prototype system will be up and running by the early part of that period. Well, let me see if I got this straight. Have we or have we not just entered the fourth quarter of this period of 2017? As they announced to you that these hurricanes are all lined up, sitting out on the storm, out on the water, waiting to come in. As one go in and destroy, then you send in the next one. And suddenly Hollywood will pop up with a movie called Geostorm, which is about specific governments of the earth having the power to control the weather. If this is not a time for the people of Yahweh to pray, if this is not a time for the people of Yahweh to draw nearer unto Yahweh, to seek his protection, then when will the time come? If this is not it now. Okay? Angels, don't play this hard. Published in 1995, telling you that by late 2017, we will have it up and running. It will be fully operational. Chances are, according to the sources in here, they had the thing up and running for quite a few years. Can I read a couple of more quotes that you all might find extremely interesting? An article that appeared in the Saturday Review magazine. You all can look this up. February the 5th, 1977. Anybody wants to go back and look up this article, you go look the article up. It's called Weather Modification. It was an editorial. Saturday Review, February 5th, 1997, in the paper, the Saturday Review, page 4. I should have brought the original article, but anyway. A 1977 editorial in Saturday Review warned about weather warfare and called it a moral issue, saying, if the world is in for a long spell of crippling weather, then we are fools and monsters if we don't get together for the purpose of mounting a response as though our lives depended on it, as indeed it does. A series of weather disasters began happening in the 1960s, according to a CIA published report mentioned in the editorial. But at the time, climatologists couldn't look ahead and see that droughts, floods, and abnormal temperatures would continue beyond that decade. As if natural disasters weren't bad enough, the CIA reported that national governments were already able to manipulate the weather for military purposes. Maybe y'all ain't hear me. Let me back up. The CIA reported that national governments were already able to manipulate weather for military purposes. This is in 1960. The editorialist had an impertinent thought. It is difficult to read the CIA report without wondering whether some of the climatic aberrations in the most recent years may have not been part of a military experimental program. So even they were wondering, hey, if you can already do it, then what's to say that the extreme weather from 1961 or 62 or whenever it started, who's to say you all didn't already do it? Remember Dwight Eisenhower's last speech. Before Kennedy took office, Eisenhower said that something ominous was coming, and it was called the military industrial complex. And he warned against it. See, that's how the leadership does. They can't speak out against everything, but when they get old and decrepit and feel like their time is up, they don't have problems speaking out against it because they ain't got more days left over. They got more days behind them than ahead of them, so it really don't make a difference if they speak out. You hear me? The collective conscience was silent, however, and by 1995, the military had another 18 years to work on weather warfare methods, which it euphemistically calls weather modification. The Department of Defense sampled lightning and hurricane manipulation studies in Project Skyfire and Project Storm Fury. Why those names? Skyfire and Storm Fury. And they looked at some complicated technologies that would give big effects. Laurel Ponte, author of The Cooling, says the military studied both lasers and chemicals which they figured could damage the ozone layer over an enemy. Looking at ways to cause earthquakes as well as to detect them was part of the project codenamed Prime Argus, which took place decades ago. Angels Don't Play This Harp, page 67. In 1993, the U.S. Air Force Chief of Staff Merrill McPeak told a meeting of the U.S. Space Foundation that those opposing a larger military role in space must reconsider their viewpoint. He emphasized that the country must develop a new system so that it can control the space environment in the future. He and other Air Force officials wouldn't say what they had in mind, but said the new systems are more of a political question than of a technological challenge. In other words, we already have the technology. So it's just a question now who wants to apply it. It ain't about technology. We got the technology to do it. Which one of you all has the money and the political will to use this as a weapon? You must understand what's happening, Israel. Oh, man. McDonald, Professor Gordon G.F. McDonald, had a number of ideas for using the environment as a weapon system, and he contributed to what was, at that time, the dream of a futurist. When he wrote his chapter in the book, How to Wreck the Environment, for the book, Unless Peace Comes, he was not kidding around. In the text, he described the use of weather manipulation, climate modification, polar ice cap melting and destabilization, ozone depletion techniques, earthquake engineering, ocean wave control, and brainwave manipulation utilizing the planet's energy field. He also said that these types of weapons would be developed and when used will be virtually undetectable by their victims. Come on, Yisrael. You think these people playing with us? A weapon being used against you that could be undetectable by you, the victims of it, where dark clouds just come in and just hover, clouds that ain't even gray no more, clouds of green and red colored clouds. Come on now. I know this is a little boring, don't want to wake nobody up. Just want y'all to understand this is the type of world we live in. These are the types of minds that we are following now in this latter day and age. These ain't no minds nobody want to get caught playing with or working with. These are the people that you are up against that hate Almighty Yahweh. What emerged was an awesome picture of a far-ranging research and experimentation done by the Department of Defense into ways environmental tampering could be used as a weapon. Come on, man. These are people, man, that really intend on destroying the world. These are people, man, that don't love anybody but money and Satan. Last quote from this book, page 166. What this seems to say is that the objective of the research would be toward manipulating the mind from a distance, where the military could alter what people thought and that at sometimes know what they thought. I just told you all last week about Sega Genesis and other companies that came up, had the little thought controller now where your child ain't no longer needing to use the thing. He can sit there and think it through and focus in and look at what he's looking at. There are cell phone technologies where you can look at videos and once you take your eyes off the screen, the video pause till you look back at it. You got to understand the nature of this technology. Everything that's technologically advancing ain't always good for the people. Somewhere along the line, the people of Yahweh have to know when to fall back. when to pull back off the system, or when utilizing certain aspects of the system, know when to stop. You hear me? See, I've never been a fan of technology, and people would always laugh at me because I didn't have a fear of it. I know what Yahweh gave me. I had an understanding of some stuff where I didn't want to be involved in. See, now, pay attention to most of the so-called stupid futuristic movies. Have you ever noticed there's always an underground, or there's always a core element of the people that survive underground? They always remain a step or two behind the latest technology, never neck and neck with it, but a step or two behind. Who do you think that symbolizes? If the world is steadily advancing and moving forward, but yet there's always a group, they call them the resistance, they call them the rebels, all of this other stuff, but for some reason or another, they ain't in control of nothing. Pay attention to the symbology that Satan uses to trap the minds of people. We're so caught up in Hollywood and the technology and the advances of this stuff, we think we really got it made. You don't have it made. We're being made into organized slaves, okay? Let's go to Revelations chapter 20. I'm going to start right around that 11th verse. This one, the message. This is why I wanted to sit down today. I ain't got a lot of energy to spit into this because I'm telling you all right now, this is one of those type of messages that you look at and it'll suck and drain the energy from you spiritually. You come out of this pulpit tired from having grappled with all of this stuff. That's why some Shabbats, you all will see me sit down after we all rest and fellowship. You'll see me drift off because I'm just so drained from looking at this, saying, oh man, from what's coming on the face of this earth, it will appear as if Yahweh's people don't stand a chance. But you have every chance in the world, provided you turn to Yahweh with all your heart and soul. There's not a chance to left playing around. We can't chance it to the system. Well, I'll take my chances with the beast. There are no chances with the beast. Even the beast loses in the end. He stands up to make war against Yahshua and against him that sat on the horse. It says, and against his army. Anytime you have a mindset where you're going to literally try to fight against the heavenly host, I wish I'll pull it. Somebody just remind me this week, because it's going to take me a couple of hours. I have a subscription to Foreign Affairs magazine. And I took this subscription out in the early 90s because somebody drew my attention to this group of people and what they write. We studied them. We looked at their logo. We looked at their history and all the stuff that they say it stands for. This is something sometimes, like Yahshua said, knowing where Satan's throne is. He said that specifically. Sometimes there are people in this earth that you really don't believe are fighting on the behalf of Satan to keep this thing afloat. We're beyond conspiracy theories now. We talk conspiracy in motion. It's conspiracy in play, where people are literally take control of the earth. So when I say help me or remind me to go to them Foreign Affairs magazines and pull out that article where they talked about the East Coast of America being hit by those 50-foot waves. Because that is what they were talking about on the news earlier in the week, about 25 and 50-foot waves coming in on these hurricanes. How can you call stuff out like that 20 years in advance if you ain't in on it? Now, I done went back from the 1800s to present day, showing you how they have advanced the technology and come on forward with it, calling it out. You ain't calling it out like that as a prophet. You're calling it out like that as a profiteer. Hear me? Because you're the ones making it. So when I looked and said that they were talking about the water levels of cities, Hollywood gets a great source of its financial backing and its consultations from the Central Intelligence Agency. I only learned this as an investigative journalist, looking at facts and reading a lot of stupid stuff that don't nobody else pay attention to. If it's all false and it's just illusional and it's just movies and make-believe, why is the Central Intelligence Agency sitting over there hovering over Hollywood, consulting on so many different movies, giving them access and previews to such technology if there ain't something behind it? Okay? This thing is real. This thing is so satanically inspired, so satanically charged. You all pray that y'all give the messengers of Israel the ability to open this up to you all and to have you understand it, because to sit in an office and read some of this sometime and have to slam the book shut and push your chair away from the desk to take a breath to catch up with it is nothing to play with, because then you walk away from it, you ain't got nobody to talk to about it, because like Daniel says, how can I talk with this, O Yahweh, within my lips? In other words, who am I going to discuss this with? You don't even have the words in your vocabulary to bring it out. But it's in the Torah. It's in the book of the prophets. It's in their writing. John described the airplanes and the hair and the machines, the locusts. John, hey, come on, brothers. These are the machines. You hear them planes buzzing, sound like locusts. They paint imagery on them, making them look like giant mosquitoes and all this. Pay attention. They use the words that they had in the language of their day to describe what they saw coming far into the future. Said that they had stings in their tails that scorched men that understand high-powered weaponry coming from machines as it flies over and shoots down hundreds of rounds on the beach or in the cities or wherever they unleash this fire. Understand what Yah gave those messengers the ability to see, so that we that are alive in this day and age can understand we have no hiding place except in Yahshua. Come on, man. Revelations 20 says, and I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heavens fled away, and there was found no place for them. Come on, now the earth cannot stand up against the beauty of Almighty Yahweh. It cannot stand under the coming power of Yahshua when he is fully endued with all power like Yah had given unto him. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before Yahweh. Look, and the books were opened. Pay attention. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. Now notice he says the books were opened. These are the works, these are the writings of the prophets, the books. You got to understand, they're going to be judged by all the things that Yah commanded his writers to write, okay? The books were opened. These books now stand as a testimony against them. You hear me? But he says, and another book was opened. And he describes this book because he says, which is the book of life. You hear me? And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books. Notice, according to their works. So these are people that are doing these things today. These are men that have invented weaponry and things that sometimes, well, you listen. How do you describe to the people of Yahweh how Westinghouse is the enemy of life? When we use Westinghouse power, lights and tools and equipment, how do you explain things like that to people like Weyerhaeuser and all these other organizations that started off in the Gilded Age, in the time of great massive gains of wealth and greedy men who sought only gain and were given access to such stuff by way of evil spirits who gave them control and dominion of the earth? We got to stop for a minute now. We got to go back into the prophecies of the book. We got to go look at the things that even Yah said unto Yesah, how he would make his living with the sword, with the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven. All these things that he's gained control and command of. How is it that he remains so hidden in the earth? Who are, oh man, who are the largest developers of arms and the manufacturers of arms? You start looking at the names of these people, people get offended. You're doing it. Don't get offended because all of the major global arms dealers happen to be so-called Jewish men. How can you all get offended when we go and trace them down and ain't nobody in the industry but you? You have no competitors. So how then can it be anti-Semitic to say that all the international bankers just happen to be Jewish men? All the international manufacturers and developers of weapons happen to be Jewish men. Stop for a minute, Yisrael. Edom, he came up in the house of his father, Yitzhak. He came up beside his brother Yaakov. They knew of the Torah of Yah, so they knew of the things that Yah commanded. One was destined to continue in it. The other was destined to continue to fight to grab it back. But yet it was not Yah's will that he have it anyway. But he seeks to continue the dominance and the stranglehold over that spiritual blessing, which was never his. This ain't to single out anybody for any special, as they would say, anti-Shemitic treatment. But come on, you are anti-Mashiach all the way around. And we have to put that out. Come on, man. When you stand for the truth in Yah's word, know for certain Shaitan will come after you. You must understand that. Shaitan will do it. If Shaitan can't send enemies to afflict you physically, Shaitan will afflict the body physically. If Shaitan can't do it that way, Shaitan will have his minions in the financial industry attack you somehow, some kind of way. He'll come in any way, in any angle that he can. But the only angle that he cannot completely have dominion in his attack is when you are filled with the Ruach. There's nothing he can do. You all feel me? There's nothing he can do against a vessel that is completely filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. That's why y'all's people need that. You hear me? A lot of time I talk with people all the time, and this is it's not a weakening on me. It's a spiritual thing. Sometimes I talk to people all the time. They pride themselves on talking to the messengers of Yahweh and knowing more than the preachers know. And I always challenge people like that, real simple. You know more than the ministers of Yahweh know. You need to go on out there and get it established and teach it to the people. I tell people that all the time, man. Well, I watch brothers. They'll ask me a question. Brother did it early in the week. He asked me a question. I answered his question. But before I could shut up, he was digging in his bag, pulling out his notes, flipping through the notes because what he was getting ready to do was challenge my answer. And I say, if you ask a question to any man, a messenger of Yah, the priesthood, any Nabi, whatsoever your word we use to describe them, if the answer they give you is not satisfactory, don't debate them. Take the answer that you have accepted first and foremost as your answer and you run with that. That's what you do. See, that's not what the book says. The book says in Malachi, it says, Malachi 2:7. In fact, let me just go there and quote it, just for safety's sake, all right? Y'all that's in Revelation, just sit there. In fact, let me mark it with my pen now. I'll come right back. I'm going to show people how they have to conduct themselves now because you end up destroying yourselves when we think we're so wise. Here's what the book says, Malachi 2, verse 5. Let me start at the 5th verse. My covenant was with him of life and peace, and I gave them to him for the fear wherewith he revered me, and was afraid before my name. The Torah of truth was in his mouth. Stop right there. Because the criteria of a messenger of Yah is that he cannot be a liar, okay? And iniquity was not found in his lips. He walked with me in peace and equity. You hear that? And did turn many away from iniquity. Why ask the priesthood questions if you're going to debate their answers? Their job is to teach you and tell you and turn you away from your iniquity. Remember now how I got into the definitive of iniquity? Because first we sin. We missed the mark of Yah, so then we deliberately have transgressed. We've overstepped the boundary between right and wrong, okay? So now you've missed the mark. After a while, your sin becomes deliberate, intentional. You've missed the mark so much so that now it becomes iniquitous to us, so that now it's burned within us. You cannot extricate this from yourself. So now he says, I will visit the iniquities, because it now becomes a genetic thing. I will visit the iniquities of the fathers, he says, upon the children. So deeply ingrained is it within the psyche and the spiritual and physical embodiment of man that he's got to pay your children and your children's children. He said, I will visit the iniquity of the fathers of children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. We wake up to the knowledge of it and come to understand how much we love Yahweh. In the process of us loving Yahweh, Yah grants unto us, he says, for the daughters of Yahweh, a man whosoever finds a wife finds a tough thing. He is a gift of Yahweh. So now he gives you a wife to help you. She is a help meet. He explains unto the man now, you are a righteous man. I've granted you with some help. I've given you a righteous woman. You put these two together, and because of these two, he seeks a righteous seed, because now a righteous man and a righteous woman will only produce a righteous seed. Are you all listening to that? So now the iniquity is being wiped away because now he's producing a righteous generation after generation. You listening, Israel? Let's go further. He says the law of truth was in his mouth and iniquity was not found in his lips. He walked with me in peace and equity and did turn many away from iniquity. For the priest's lips should keep knowledge. Okay, he's supposed to know. And they should seek the law at his mouth. You should ask him your questions. But now, show me where it says you should debate him and his answers. Okay, it's not written. Am I correct? Look, for he is the messenger of Yahweh of hosts. Yahweh is above all the hosts, all the gods, everything. He says the messenger of Yahweh of Sabaoth. But look, you are departed out of the way. You have caused many to stumble at the Torah. You have corrupted the covenant of Levi, saith Yahweh of Sabaoth. So now he's even correcting the priesthood. Don't lead those people astray. This is why you tell people, come out of her, my people. This is why I taught the message the way y'all commanded me to teach it. Many, many worldly distractions are just destroying us as Hebrews. So many worldly distractions that we cannot say no to. Yet we have no other alternative but to say no. You hear me? We have no other alternative to the distractions of this world that will destroy us from Yahweh's way and his plan of salvation. So he says, therefore, have I also made you contemptible and base before all people, according as you have not kept my ways, but have been partial in my Torah. Partial. They opened the book, so they get credit for having opened the book, but now they don't continue with what's in the book. So then they are made contemptible and base. Look at Olstein and all the others with the million. I can't even think of what I need to do with $56 million in my possession. What can I possibly do with $56 million just stashed somewhere in the bank? After a while, ain't but so much you can buy, ain't but so much you can spend. After a while, ain't but so much traveling the world you can do. After a while, ain't but so much enjoyment you can get. Because at the end of the days, the essence of life is to fear Yahweh and keep his commandments. You can travel the globe, you can globe trot. After a while, it's gonna get old to you. Come on, man. You can get a new car. You got that new car smell, got that new car feel, got all that. You just want to drive. Oh, I forgot to get such and such a thing. Store, half a block up the street. You want to jump in the car and drive up there just because it's new to you. But then after a while, it grows old on you. Even when you got to travel 500 miles, now you don't even have the drive and the energy to get in and drive because it is worn on you. But with Yahweh, our relationship and development will never grow old. And we don't understand that. So people have to be introduced to Yahweh and taught how to stay safely married to Yahweh. Ain't no cheating on Yahweh. You hear me? He says in Jeremiah 3:14, turn, O backsliding children of Israel, for I am married unto you, and I will take you one of a city, two of a family, and bring you to Zion. So he is telling the nation of Israel, he's comparing their relationship to him with that of a marriage. And Hamashiach is the bridegroom, just as we as the nation are the bride. Are you listening, Israel? So come on, all the nations of the earth today, they're not into that. They could care less about the beauty of the Torah of Yah. And the beauty of it is, Yahweh ain't opening it up to everybody, no way. He hasn't, look, they exclusive nightclubs and restaurants, they ain't opening that stuff up to all of you, are you? Name the most exclusive nightclub in Paris. Any of you all been there? Look, let's be honest. I don't even know the name of it. I just know I ain't been there. And I know I ain't trying to go there, right? Name the most exclusive, expensive restaurant in Baltimore. Obviously, ain't nobody been invited, right? Because ain't nobody, let the record reflect, not a hand in the building went up. Nobody shouted out the name of Baltimore's most exclusive restaurant. Because we don't even know. Chances are we can't afford it no way, right? Think about it. Come on, you go to some of these places, they want $50 for a hot dog and a hamburger. $50. And you know right there, you say that one again, you don't know what you eat. So come on, Yisrael, we have to look at and know and understand just how far from Yahweh that we have gone, so that now these people have this kind of control over the earth. Listen, there are men and women out there teaching, there's this lunar doctrine that people are teaching now. They got to calculate this Shabbat and all this other stuff. You got all this knowledge of other things, but yet the things that are unfolding right before our very eyes, you have no understanding of that. You're not going to tell me now that y'all give you this grand revelation on this point X, Y, and Z, but you miss points A, B, C, and D. Are you listening, Israel? Come on, man. We're in deep trouble with these people now. So Yah says, therefore have I also made you contemptible and base. Let's go a little further because see, man, you cannot teach the children of Israel the things that they already claim to know. Let's go back to Revelations 20. Come on, man. 20 and 13 says, and the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and the death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. And they were judged every man according to their works. You think these people that were not bombed and obliterated, soldiers on the battlefield that never saw the light of day once the bombs hit and exploded, you think those men it's just over with for them? Nah, look what it says. Hell gave up the dead that were in them. And you coming back. I don't care if you were blown to smithereens. Y'all gonna bring you back. Think about it. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast. into the lake of fire. You mean to tell me these men were inventing all these weapons and bombs and hurricanes and all this stuff? Come on, man. Chemtrails, HARP, and full spectrum dominance of the earth. I want y'all to hear that. Full spectrum dominance of the earth. That's a military term. Full spectrum dominance. It means from every conceivable angle, we're going to turn it into warfare, and we're going to be the dominant figures in that. Full spectrum dominance. Let's see if I got this quote here. Wasn't even a whole lot to it. Give me a sec. I'll find it. I'll mark this stuff off. These are the people, man, that are destroying the world, man. These people are now, we out here looking and we're awed by the things that they do. No, we don't have time to be awed by the things that they do. They have the blueprints and the mapping and the capability and the mathematical computation to do all the stuff that they want to do, man. Here it is. Stanford University population biologist Paul Ehrlich, author of the 1968 book The Population Bomb, was resurrected to reiterate an old saw of the blaming overpopulation for imminent global collapse. They did it. Too many brown people on Earth. Overpopulation of the earth, resource drain, all this. Understand what these people mean. In truth, it is that we're entering a technological space age very different from the one envisioned by President John Kennedy. If the military mindset has its way, all of the planet Earth will be militarized under the policy of full spectrum dominance. They're making warfare out of every aspect of life. The military has control over games, Sega Genesis, all this other stuff. People playing this stuff. The military is designing it because even the relaxation and play and R&R that your children get is controlled by the military. These types of things are sickening, man. Wars over natural resources are being replaced by wars over societal disruptions as the line between civilian and soldier is now erased. Look at that. Ebola, laser, binary agents, and genomic targeting pathogens ride nanoparticulates into our lungs and bloodstreams and in long-term fingerprintless campaigns. Let me get into what they're saying here. Genome targeting pathogens. They created a chemical that was exclusively designed to attack the chemical and biological makeup of what you call African persons. Purple of melanistic hue and things like that. We create weapons that exclusively draw to them. More blacks have this. More blacks have that. More high blood pressure. More heart attack. More stroke. But you're not saying you create these things. Let me back up. I want you to hear what they say. Ebola, Lassa, and binary agents. What's that? Binary agents and the nanotechnology are things like Morgellons, where people have these strange fibers growing out of their skin. They think it's some kind of strange thick hair or something, but when they start to pull on it, it ain't hair, but it's deeply embedded in the skin, and it's like red and blue and gray fibers, Morgellons. So, in other words, just messing with the body's chemical and biological makeup. For those that you can see this after Shabbat, that's Morgellons there. Fibers just coming out of the skin, like what you think is ingrown hair or something, but then when it come out, it's red, like carpet fibers. Somebody's messing with you by creating pathogens that go in and like little teeny tiny computers, nanotechnology, these things weave together and destroy the lungs, the heart, different parts of the body. Come on, Yisrael. This is just how evil of a world we live in. Now, for those of you that want to understand this and are able to move beyond the racial dynamic of this, then understand this. Even white people are now being impacted by things that their white brethren of the global ruling class are doing. When scripture teaches us that there will be a time of trouble such as was not since there was a nation, I don't know why this fell on their lot as opposed to the lot in the day of Daniel. Nebuchadnezzar was the leading devil of his day. Y'all knocked him down. The scripture says that a man's heart was given unto it. He's the only one of all the global empires to ever have turned and repented to Yahweh. Notice, a man's heart was given unto it. All the rest of the beasts didn't get that privilege. Pay strict attention. You come on down the line, I know that there are many Europeans and European Americans that will hear this type of message and become gravely offended. But I'm going to go on the defensive and say, I did not make you, just as I did not make myself. I did not divide the world along the basis of a color line, and as a result, make myself easily identifiable by way of the things I do based upon my clear lack of color. I didn't do it. I'm just reporting what is being done. You hear me? I want to be clear because people will accuse you of being a racist for pointing out the activities and works of the racist. Y'all as people have to be on the lookout because they're not playing around in the world. Secrecy always accompanies cutting edge technologies that is yoked to war. In 2010, 76.7 million documents were classified, compared with 8.6 million in 2001. You hear that? In 2001, the government classified 8.6 million documents. 9 years later, they were classifying 76.7 million. That's a lot. Letting people know, hey man, we don't need you in on none of this stuff. The aerosol program of going on in our skies over our head remains secret because for the first time in human history, we're being forced to live in a chemicalized atmosphere. What a coincidence. I have cough now. Anyway, we're being forced to live in a chemicalized atmosphere, more like a plasma battery than our sky of our forebears enjoyed. Global power brokers monitor and map our every movement while subjugating all our biological life to ionized aerosols loaded with experimental, biological, and chemical agents. As Aviation Week's, and this is a magazine you can read, Aviation Week, senior intelligence defense editor Bill Sweetman put it in his 1993 book, Aura, the Pentagon's secret hypersonic spy plane. Covert and cover are the principal words in the secret world's vocabulary. Lifting the cover on intelligence systems will reduce their value. So in 1951, Invention Secrecy Act was added to conceal technological inventions and shift the patent system from open source to control by the new national security state. To this day, every electromagnetic technology that can be weaponized ends up under a shroud of national security. Isn't that something? Anything somebody invent that can later be looked at and used as a weapon, they snatch it up. Experts in secrecy, lies, deception, murder, and mayhem will gather together like vultures to double cross elected officials and split society between their burying their heads in the flags and those struggling to penetrate. How 24/7 canned news, just disjointed factoids, and social media peppered with memes were undermining the social order. So they admit we're using Facebook, Google, Apple, all this stuff is being used against the very people of the world. The aerosol operation is a joint project between the Pentagon and the pharmaceutical industry. Y'all listen up. You got to hear this. The Pentagon wishes to test biological diseases for war for war purposes on unsuspecting populations. It was started and stated that SARS, the severe acute respiratory syndrome, is a failure, as the expanded rate of mortality was intended to be 80%. Did y'all hear that? They said it was a failure because SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, didn't kill off enough people, so they counted it as a failure. Well, when we go back into Revelation 6 and we read up on people that were given the authority over the earth, over the trees, to kill with the sword and with the beast and with hunger, who has control over 1/4 part of the earth and has that type of potential to do it? Nobody's sitting down with the children of Israel telling them now, come out from among these nations. First and foremost, get your head right. Get your mind right to follow the Torah of Yahweh and stop being so willing to follow these nations so blindly. Don't even follow them into the voting booth. Come out from among them. Don't get caught for, leave them hanging. I'm oftentimes accused of wondering, and I wondered this out loud. Citizens in Baltimore got mad with me for bringing it up, but yet they keep on bringing it up themselves. I say, I wonder what will happen if all the registered voters just stayed home. Nobody seems to be thinking on that scale. We all just blindly follow the beast. What happens if everybody that ever registered to vote stays home? Who wins? And the reason why I ask who wins is because if ain't nobody voting, how you getting in the slot? If we're accusing you of putting in the slot the people you want to go in the slot anyway, then why don't the people who think they choose and who go in the slot stay home? The book says, come out from among them and be ye also separate. I always ask my registered voter friends, what do you have in life as a registered voter that I, as one who has never registered from the first day out of high school to this damn day, what do you have that I don't have? What have you acquired that I haven't already acquired? And I live in the world just like you. I got to work just like you. I got to eat just like you. I got to sleep just like you. What did you get out of voting all those years that I didn't get? And I've never had a voter's registration card. I have never voted. Never. A day in my life. And don't plan on voting. I've been voted for in high school. They voted me for something. I forget what it was in the school yearbook. Anyway, I didn't even ask for that. Probably was the biggest nutcase. I'll go look it up, see what they said about me. But anyway, the pharmaceutical industry is making trillions on medications designed to treat both fatal and non-fatal disease. Well, that's true. Making billions. No, I'm sorry, it says trillions. Designing medicine to treat you. Now, in case you ain't understood it yet, a book called The Coming of the Robots talks about these laboratories now where they don't even trust the humans to make the medicines no more. Robots make the pills, the medicines, sort the prescriptions, put everything. Ain't a single person working in the factory. Robots even do the dusting and cleaning up after all the chemicals is in the air. Come on, man. Knocking the people and the jobs out of the way. And yet all these little Terminator movies and other stuff show you the future of bullets and guns flying and machines. Even the soldiers of the future are robotic. You are not paying attention. Satan don't even trust man when man submit to it. Now, where did he get that idea? If Yahweh says he put not even trust in his angels, nor in the sons of men. Where does Satan get it from? Yahweh loves his creation. Satan hates everything that Yahweh created and seeks to destroy it. Satan take everything. He got one or two choices. Either he go extremely big or he go extremely small. Pay attention to how he does everything. Come on now. Y'all all right? The metals released along with the diseases heat up from the sun, creating a perfect environment for bacteria and viruses to thrive in their air supply. Most countries today being sprayed are unaware of the activities and they have not consented to these activities. He states that commercial aircraft flying is one of the delivery systems. There you have it. Commercial airplane flying. How many times you see jets going across the sky just spitting out these chemicals that later just filter right on down into the trails? And if you've ever paid attention, usually after you see it a day or two later, it's always raining or hot. You go out right in the air and you breathe all this stuff in. We are on this earth. There is nowhere to go. And yet Yahweh was able to protect Israel with the healthiest of immune systems and everything else. He's able to do it right in the midst of all of that. Come on, Israel. Yahshua is the doctor. He is the doctor. He is the attorney. He is the commander in chief. He is the general. He's the one that's going to set all this right. But they keep trying to accuse us of believing in fairy tales. But yet you all have your live stories played out like fairy tales. Come on, man. I never forget the picture of the prince getting married years before he even grew up. And that red coat of arms and the dress he had and the dress that his wife would have and all that. Disney put that character out. And then years later, when he did grow up to marry that girl and get dressed, what did he have on? The same clothes that they portrayed in the Disney cartoon of the prince getting married to the princess. Come on now. What you just, coincidence that you played it out like that? Coincidence that the Simpsons always got all of the truth in the stories before the stuff happened and people sit up and laugh and giggle about it, but it happens? Come on now. Most of the players are old friends and business partners of the men such as Senior Vice President George Herbert Walker Bush. Now you can see how old this is. They talking about it. The ultimate goal is control of all populations through directed and accurate spraying of drugs, diseases, etc., etc. People who have tried to reveal the truth have been imprisoned or killed. This is the most dangerous and dark time that I've experienced in all my years of serving this country. Who said that? Clifford E. Carmicon, Chief Morgellons researcher. I'm just telling y'all. This is the type of stuff that they doing. This is the type of stuff they laying out. So right now, while the whole nation is bracing for Hurricane Irma, we also need to be praying for the engineers of this stuff, that y'all will move against them and destroy them. Don't let these men continue to live in the face of the earth and nothing ever happened to them. Don't keep on praying, oh Father, bless them, for they know not what they do. That's not who Yahshua was directing that prayer for. That prayer was directed for you among yourselves as community who live among the Torah of Yah. Sometimes you as brothers and sisters are going to violate one another unintentionally. There are things that you're going to do that you don't mean and or intend to do in a malicious way, but it's done. Nevertheless, you might not have realized you did it. So then the book says, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Even the man of Yah who was being murdered by Israel, they did not understand the depth of what they were doing. And he asked Yahweh to remember them. Come on, Yisrael. But there are some people in the face of this earth now, their sins have to be laid to their charge because they know exactly what they do. And you're going to have to lift up a prayer against them. My enemies in this city were giving me the blues. All kind of threats, all kind of stuff. You gonna do this, you gonna do that. I'm not even talking about anybody specific. I'm just laying out the facts. And it wasn't until I really got on them airwaves and started praying in the ears of everybody so that everybody could hear it. And I asked Yahweh to do it and show them up that suddenly they start fighting among themselves, start dividing and conquering. I know what Yahweh did. So they can't tell me Yahweh didn't move. They fighting and going at each other. No, y'all were friends. You out there trying to box me out, goaltending, didn't want me to speak the truth to the people, shut down facilities where we could go hold the presentation and talk to the people and wake them up to the Torah. No, you all were blocking that. So now I just stay right on the air 1 day a week, every Wednesday, and on the air 1 day a week on the Shabbat and put it out there as best I can and don't bother nobody. But I'm still praying. I'm asking y'all, shake them from pillar to post. Take their sleep from them. Take their meals from them. Take their homes from them. Take their lives from them. If that is what they seek to do to the poor, the hungry, the ragged, the naked that don't know Yahweh yet because nobody has stood up to introduce the world to Yahweh, then do unto them as they would have done unto us. There's no other way to pray. You can't always ask Yahweh, forgive them, for they know not what they do, especially if what they do is even against him. They prepare war against him. Come on, Yisrael. I don't have no friends in this world. I have family. I don't have no friends. You all call me and I talk with you all. Those of you by way of chat room and live stream and emails and letters and all, always write me. When you write, you send letters and offering and things, that always include in your letters. Let me know how you all are doing. You let us know, because when we're in touch with other shepherds and messengers of Yah, I tell them as well, pray for this. We have brothers and sisters in this city and that city. I want to just hear from you. This here, well, what Yah commands that we do, this is far above and beyond money. Hear what I say. This is about our souls as a people. We need to know how to pray. You all need to know how to pray for me. Last night, I wasn't feeling my best. I got home, I had a massive headache. I was a little tired. I was a little worn down. And it kept coming to my mind. You ain't gonna make it tonight. You might as well stand down, lay on back, get yourself some rest. You ain't gonna make it. You ain't gonna feel well. Don't do it. But I thought on something my father said many years ago. He said, sometimes it's just a matter of mind over matter. He said, press on anyway. So you get to the house of Yahweh, you never know. You just might feel better when you get there. And I was running a little late when I came through that door last night, which ain't me at all. And I said to myself, I pray y'all put it in the messenger's heart. Don't wait for me. Y'all go ahead and start. When I came in the door, Deacon was up here teaching last night. I just simply waved shalom to everyone, and I went on in. I sat right in that dining hall, and I listened intensively. But I give you my word in Yahshua, by the time he closed and said prayer, I was feeling great. I thought on what the old man said you press on anyhow. Feel better when you get there. And those messages, man, they're not just messages that we send out for you. The word of Yah is to all of us. We need to be strengthened and comforted too. We the messengers of Yah, we need to hear the preaching too. That's why I try to listen and pay attention as best I can. Pray for one another, Yisrael. You keep in touch with one another. You spend the duration of this week in prayer for Yahweh's people. You have no idea what the controllers of this planet intend to do. Shaitan seeks to make all men fall in line and to worship him. That is not a game. This is an evil spirit. You can't take him on yourself. We're not going to grab Satan in some little martial arts chokehold, kick him and flip him down, and that be the end of it. It's going to take the sheer dynamic power of Yahshua to bring this thing to heel. We need that kind of power in our lives. Are you listening, Yisrael? We need to draw closer to Yahweh. We need to seek his mighty power and his works. Don't just limit the power of Yahweh now to the book. This power has to be within you and I, man. We act like today that Yahweh can't do all things. He can do all things. His power is not limited. Harp, the ultimate weapon of the conspiracy, by Jerry Smith. Now, people always say they don't believe in conspiracy theory and things like that. I try my best to steer clear of that as well. I don't deal in conspiracy theories, but there are just some things where you can literally document that these things are true, whether people want to acknowledge it or not. It can clearly be documented. Listen to this. This is page 7. This is page 18 of the book Harp, the ultimate weapon of the conspiracy. Harp has a unique feature, a patented ability to focus these transmissions into a single point high in the sky. This magnifies the output 1,000 times, giving Harp an effective radiation power in excess of 3.6 billion watts. This makes it more than 72,000 times more powerful than the largest commercial radio station in the United States. Can you imagine that? Whatever the largest radio station in America is, Harp has 3.6 billion watts, which makes it 72,000 times more powerful than that. According to the military, the purpose of Harp antenna array is to simulate on a very small scale, you're right, phenomena similar to those that occur naturally when energy from the sun interacts with the Earth's upper atmosphere. Well, what does the sun do? It heats things up, doesn't it? Okay, just checking. This could provide scientists and engineers with insight into how these natural phenomena occur and what effects they produce. That's one thing about the European race you got to really give them credit on. They study everything in the most minute detail. You ever watch white people? They study everything in great detail. You don't get caught playing them cheap. White people study stuff. Now, white people also bluff you. They'll pretend to have great knowledge of stuff and won't know nothing about nothing. Look, I was working on a project in Washington, D.C. yesterday. 30 feet in the air, the men installed some windows where we put the lintels in and laid the brick, put everything in place. Somehow, someway, they installed the windows in and knocked the brick out of place, pushed the brick back in. Now, all our scaffolding, everything been down and off the job for well over 2 months. The man gonna ask us on the ground yesterday. I'm 5'11", 185 pounds. He 5'3", 135 pounds. And all of us standing around taller than him. He gonna ask, hey, how'd that brick get out of place up there? You see that brick up there? How'd that get out of place? So I looked at him. I said, well, you the shortest one down here, so I figure you must have did it. So he looks at me as if, what? I'm thinking to myself, you figured out when you come in. Why you gonna ask me? We done been away from it, so whoever put the windows in knocked the brick back. You want it fixed? Get them out here and let them put it back. I'm not climbing back up there to get it. Point being, he gonna explain to us how the brick got out of place. So then I said, well, if you know all that, why you waste time asking me how it happened? Now either you guessing or you automatically know. But my point is, they do the same thing to you in all aspects of life. They will guess. They will tell you all about Yahweh. They'll tell you about the Torah. They'll lay all the prophets and the books and everything out. They'll tell you all about it and don't believe a word of it. How can an atheist tell me about that which he doesn't believe in? How are you as an atheist going to teach me about that which you can't stand? Come on now. But you can teach me all about evil and the evil works that you do because you have a tendency through ego to write down everything you do in books. You hear me? They tell you everything they do because they're so egotistical. Today, we obliterated another segment of the planet. We will congratulate each other tomorrow through the celebratory process of popping bottles. End of the conference. And you ain't catch nothing he said. We done blew up half the planet. We gonna get some champagne and celebrate tomorrow. You don't catch what they say. Okay, let's see if we catch this. This is what they say. Ionic Ferric Research Instrument, IRI, a high-power transmitter operating in the high frequency range. The IRI will be used to temporarily excite a limited area of the ionosphere for scientific study. Now imagine that I got this magnifying glass. I'm gonna structure it so that the fire beam come down and heat up that area right there where them ants are at. And I'm gonna hold it there until I burn these ants to see how they react to it. Well, now you got something where you can do that to the earth. You send a beam up, you heat the thing up, and send the heat back down to the earth so you can study exactly what's going to happen. We are not paying attention to the mind of these people. The core of HARP is IRI. Remember, Ionospheric Research Instrument. It will be the largest high frequency radio transmitter that has ever been built. It is designed to concentrate several gigawatts of broadcast power into an intense beam of unimaginable strength. Well, what do you think that's going to do? You shoot this beam on the earth anywhere you choose to send it, and nobody can see it, but yet it hits this earth, and next thing you know, you got a massive earthquake, 8.0 in Mexico. While you got tsunamis and tornadoes in other places, in some of those little islands right down in the particular regions of the world, we are not paying attention. We are not paying attention. You're in a time now where you don't know if these are natural weather patterns or if it is a weapon of warfare being used against you. All I do know, you're living in a time where you need to pray. We're living in a time where we need to draw closer to Yahweh. We're living in a time where we need to be sincere, not playing around with Yahweh, not just excited about the depth of the analysis of a messenger of Yahweh, but a concern about the salvation of our soul. This is an eternal thing. This ain't just a lifetime game. This is an eternal battle for your soul, where you will or will not spend eternity. Am I making sense, Yisrael? Come on, man. If you all don't have no other messengers that open these things up to you, I understand. But pray that y'all give me the ability to articulate it. Sometimes I don't have the words in my vocabulary to explain on all that I see. There are three principal stages of development of this weapon system. The first stage is twofold. First, there is a hard science, the fundamental research that leads to an increased understanding of the natural laws. Then someone gets a bright idea, a what if concept, based on trying to apply the hard science discoveries to the military's needs. The second stage of the acquisition cycle is proof of concept. Here, the scientists, either in universities working under contracts and grants funded by the military or defense contractors, or in the military or contractors' own labs, develops hardware to test the what if idea. The purpose of this phase is to demonstrate that the concept can be worked up into something that the military could someday use. At this stage, the experimental equipment seldom resembles an actual weapon. It is often not until the third and final stage, the prototype stage, that the idea takes shape as an actual working model. After the prototype is demonstrated, the project will typically move from the lab to the political arena as the supporters fight to get massive funding needed to build and field a new weapons system. Well, if the scripture says that Esau would make his living by the sword, if Esau would make his living by the sword, then does that not include the weapons, the arms, and the manufacture of said arms? Come on, man. Please tell me I'm not the only one when I go and research these big military contracts. Please tell me that I'm not the only one looking at the shareholders or the chief owners of the company and seeing all these last names that resemble the names of people who keep saying that they are the chosen people and are not, but do lie. Please tell me I'm not the only one looking at this. Tell me I'm just not that stupid that I can see a pattern that keeps on identifying the same group of people over and over and over, and yet you are the open and proven enemies of Yahweh even by your own public information's records. Come on now. Where then are the children of Israel? Where is the power and the strength of Yasher? Where is that strength of Torah? Where is the power of Dan? Where is the power of Naphtali? Where is Yehuda? What can Levi do? Come on, Yisrael. We playing with these nations while they're plotting our death, destruction, and demise. And we don't even have the sense and the courage to at least stand and say, Abba Yahweh, help us, for we are powerless and defenseless as we lean upon the hand of him who is stronger than we. Come on, Yisrael. Nobody want to get caught looking at this stuff. Do you know for years I was left stuck out there thinking like Elijah thought. For years I thought I was all by myself. Till I met David, Yisrael, and some other brothers from time to time. People who I look up and euphemistically that is, I can say, yeah, this brother, I like him. He just as nutty as I am. And I use the term nutty because people think we crazy because we're looking at the things Yah reveal, trying to tell it to Yahweh's people. Other people don't even want to hear it. Oh man, I ain't got time for that. Come on, man. This thing is winding down, Yisrael. These people are not playing with us. Here's one, closing out with this one here. Weather warfare. The military's plan to draft Mother Nature. This type of stuff they into. The military's plan to draft Mother Nature. I want to say something about these books. These ain't books written by some kooks now. These ain't just people sitting back bogus conspiracy theories and no proof. Now, these are people that are documenting their evidence, their sources, where you can go to the index or the bibliography section and track their notes. And chances are you can take the notes that they utilize to form this analysis and you can go in a whole different direction. I do that with books all the time. I look at the author's material, where he got his sources from. And I look at that and I read it, check it, and study it, and then I compare it or cross-reference it with the Torah because my intention is to go further with it than he did. My intention is to take it all the way back to Yahweh. This is how I judge every book that I read. I don't care what I read. I judge all books by the criteria of Yahweh's word, by asking the simple question, how does this relate to your word? Does this relate to your word as a correspondence or as a contradiction? Sometimes even the contradictions, I have to hold it in my file because I need it to prove to you what it is that the enemy intends to do. Other times, the contradictions can simply be thrown away because they try to place themselves above and beyond Almighty Yahweh. But at any given time, I research this stuff and I track it and I trace it because Yahweh's people need to see that. Oh, man. The idea is simple and can be accomplished by several methods. The basic mechanism is to inject the substance into the cloud, which forms a nucleus for the ice to freeze around, creating something heavy enough to fall to earth as rain. That's how you create a hurricane. Silver iodide is best known and most commonly used substance for cloud seeding, but many others have been tried before. Ice freezing nuclei have the effect of creating rain, reducing hail, and possibly preventing rain by overseeding, as Otis Port reported the Russians did in keeping it from raining on their May Day parade. You hear that? They seeded the clouds to stop it from raining one particular day. Serious, man. Let me introduce you to the privately owned firm called Weather Modification Incorporated. Just for safety's sake, 3802 20th Street, North Fargo, North Dakota. Y'all got that? Let me do it again. Give it again. Weather Modification, 3802 20th Street, North Fargo, North Dakota. Their mission is to provide solutions to the diverse water management needs of its customers using superior airborne and ground-based technologies, accommodating innovative instrumentation and adverse conditions. Weather Modification Incorporated strives to provide the best cloud seeding services, training, equipment in all the world. And this we do with the highest regard for safety, environment, and public well-being. And you can believe that if you want to. Their website lists several current projects, including hail suppression in Argentina, snowpack augmentation in Idaho, and cloud seeding in Nevada. Their site also proudly states, since Weather Modification Incorporated has been founded in 1961, we have become the world leader in hail damage mitigation, precipitation augmentation, and the application of airborne remote in situation sensing. This includes the instrumentation and expertise required for cloud, microphysical, and atmospheric aerosol sampling. We provide services to universities, to governmental agencies, and private sector entities. Somebody that can control the weather and sell their services to private sector agencies, government agencies, and to universities. Right. Now you go out and plant, Deacon plant, probably better than anybody here. Can you go buy any cloud seeding material? You see where I'm going with this, right? Weather Modification Incorporated is but one of many private firms, academic institutions, and governmental agencies in the United States engaged in weather modification. Yet to this day, many mainstream science and media and know-it-alls in bars and the barber shops are unwilling to admit that this technology is any more than the smoking cauldrons of the 1890s rainmakers. Really? You keep on living in the 1890s thinking somebody was throwing some chicken bones on the ground, dancing around it and making it rain, whereas these nuts here have devised all types of weapons and weather modification format, and they making it real. Talk about make it rain. They ain't got nothing on Lil Wayne and T.I. and all other little silly rappers. These people are living this stuff out. So when I say to you, you pray for the brothers and sisters that are standing in the midst of the hurricane zone, pray for them, but keep in mind that though this is the hand of Yahweh that has allowed these wicked nations this type of power to go this far, pray that Yahweh speak to our minds to continue to repent, that Yah keep our minds stayed on him, that we may be spared from all the things that are to come upon the face of this earth. Because we have a lot to go through, Yisrael. They have an economy that they want to collapse. James Ricketts has written several books about the next collapse. In 1988, America's stock market had some tremors. In 1998, the American stock market went through some tremors. In 2008, the American stock market had a major crash, major collapse. All this stuff and the devastation of it in one day wiped out $50 trillion in global wealth. Let me say that again. $50 trillion in global wealth was wiped out in one day. That meant everybody lost a year's worth of salary in one day. But that means somebody gained. Where does $50 trillion go that no computer in the world can keep track of it? $50 trillion. James Ricketts, in his work, Road to Financial Ruin, has scheduled and or speculated that somewhere right around that 2017, 2018 time slot, they just might try to do it again. I'm saying to you, Yisrael, that what they intend to do this time around is to bring you to the point of a cashless society. I wouldn't advise that people debate and challenge and contradict that point unless you went and studied some global economics and looked at the direction that they're trying to take the world in. Before you say that I'm lying, go and look at what the men that control the global economy intend to do. Go and look at the works of the messengers of Yahweh to see whether or not the book says that this is what they intend to do, and the fact that the book says they're going to pull it off for a short period of time. You can't tell us nothing in this earth nowadays. Ain't nobody reading nothing, but everybody already know. And everybody has the same mentality. My ignorance is just as good as your knowledge, and I'm going to take my chances. Well, I'm going to stand in the truth of Yahweh's word, but I'll say that if Yahweh don't reveal anything, we don't know anything. Yisrael, continue to pray for one another because this is not a playing time. This is a praying time. This is a time to get right, to get real with Almighty Yahweh, to set our houses in order because we don't control this earth. Yisrael is the weakest and least powerful of all nations in the physical sense of this world. But in the spiritual sense of this dynamic, the children of Israel are the world's greatest nuclear weapon, and they have yet to understand their explosive power. But the nations know. So I say to you, Yisrael, remember to pray for our people wherever they are. Pray that Yah be with us, that Yah protect us, and that as we're brought out of this, that we come out of this because the worst is yet to come. And that as we come out of this, we come out of this with a sealed faith in learning and understanding that we don't get the fullness of our Baruch until we put all our trust in Almighty Yahweh. Not 50%, not 60%. 75 ain't gonna get it. 80 and 90% of your trust in Yahweh ain't gonna get it. You're gonna have to put 100% of all your trust in Yahweh to reap the benefits of all the blessing. And when you start to trust Yahweh, you'll be obeying Yahweh. And as you are obeying Yahweh, you're doing what He commands you to do in this vessel, in this earth, and in this lifetime to make it to the world to come. Yisrael, Let us stand to our feet. Abba Yahweh, we come before you today as we give Torah unto you for the greatness of this gift of life that you have granted unto us. We beg of you in Yahshua's name to please be with your people wherever we may be scattered, from one end of this country to the other, from one end of the face of the earth to the other, in all the countries to which you have scattered us because of our transgressions. We ask that you touch our hearts and our minds, and in the weight of those transgressions against your Torah, that you touch us with the barak of a mind that is willing to walk up before you in a clean and acceptable fashion. Be with all of us, Abba Yahweh, both young and old, both small and great. Forgive us of our iniquities and our transgressions. Turn our hearts to the greatness of your Torah, that we may walk with you. As you said in your word, that you would put it in our minds to fulfill your will. Write it in our inward parts, Abba Yahweh, and make us be the people that you would have us to be. People that are willing to serve you and to strive in all days, so that at the appearing of thy Son, Yahshua HaMashiach, we're able to stand and be counted worthy to escape all these things, and to hear him say unto us, well done, my top and faithful servants, in the Barak of Almighty Yah's name. This blessing we ask. Let the assembly simply say, Hallelujah. Happy Shabbat unto you all, Yisrael. Remain prayerful and faithful unto Almighty Yahweh until the end of all days. Yahweh Barak you all. Shalom, shalom.